on the last one we had talked about, but the general ones, I mean, when you speak about the email blast, there's the one that I used to get on that has the 3 different linkages to get on for, the general meeting and then there's Facebook. Is there another place that the email blast, is that the one, when you talk about that, is that the one that has the links for getting on the meetings?
To
get the links to the PDF.
Is for getting in the meetings. I don't put the Facebook link in the blast.
No, but the PDF of the meeting notes of the chat.
Oh, Al usually puts that list on Facebook. I send it out with the blast.
And the blast is what?
Also,
what is the blast?
Any email that comes from Bob about the club.
Okay.
What we mean by blast is it's an email going to all members.
Yeah. Okay. But it may be separate than the one where you tell us about the current links and the meeting dates.
I'm not sure what your question is, sir.
Well,
if there was one.
Yeah, it's when I have gone in to look for the email or the PDFs, I have not found it on the page. I found on the page that shows the 3 meetings.
The page of what?
Email page that you send out.
Oh, okay.
And on there is a link to get to the old prior recordings.
Right.
But I didn't see one that would, or somehow to get the prior PDF chat groups.
Okay, let me share a little shortcut for you. There's only two links for the meetings and workshops. One of them is used by WITS and all things Apple, the one that Karen and Richard do. And then the other 3 things, the meeting this first Saturday and the board meeting are on the other link. So there's only 2 links.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And each of those are the same from one month to the next. So
and those show up on the Zoom record.
Yeah. So if you have the last couple last emails, you have the links.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the recordings are always at the same YouTube location. Just
Right.
do a Google search in YouTube or a YouTube search on MacNexus and it shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the experience of having to look for your links on, because I couldn't come to your meeting, Ken, on the Saturday on the travel, and so I listened through the whole video in order to get the things. But I had looked for the links, but it is what it is.
Al, is that a link or is it a download? You've got a link. Is it on your iCloud or what?
Yeah, I just store them in my iCloud, and then I create a public link, and
what might be good when you create that link, I'll give you access to the YouTube channel and you could put it in on the YouTube, and that way each one would be with each one.
Oh, that could be nifty.
Sure.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, and because you're just going to copy and paste the link anyway.
Sorry, Al.
We'll talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but you save the password. It'll be you'll always be able to log in and just do that. I'll look at that for you. We'll talk about it during the board meeting.
Sure.
Good plan.
All right. Any other questions before we get started? I think most people have parked their cars by now. Anyone else? It can be about anything. Or not.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Ken, I have a very old Mac. I'm running on Mojave, and I would like to upgrade, into the M1s, like Big Sur or Monterey or beyond. Is it? I'm kind of on the edge. I have a wonderful iMac, and we're all kind of synchronized. Everything's working well, and so I just wonder how, what point do you get to where, it's time to make the switch, and
that's a great question. Generally speaking, because the darn things last so long these days that it's kind of like, well, do I really need to? And do it, I find that it's kind of like TVs, the darn things last so long, and then you're like, oh man, it's like, what am I going to do? And I don't want to get rid of it. And then, you'd still be stuck with things that don't even have HD or HDMI connections and stuff. So I find that it's when some of the software stops being able to work. Or what I find is, for instance, when, like, for instance, people with High Sierra and Sierra, the browser isn't new enough that allows people to go to Kaiser and Sutter and sites like that want newer browsers.
No,
So
okay. That makes sense. I thought security concerns and my apps that are, that I got a long time ago, and now they've gone over to subscription, and the whole thing has changed.
And that's the problem too, is because when you go beyond Mojave, if the apps are not 64-bit, then they're not going to work in the new program. So, and then, like Charles has just found out, and many of the other Quicken users, they're requiring, you're not even letting you do Mojave, which is, I think, really, you know what, you guys, you need to try to get away from Quicken and QuickBooks, because they're not your friend. They have such a bad past with being Mac and supported with Mac and stuff. And this is another perfect example. There's no reason in the world that they say you have to get off of Mojave. It's just, there's other alternatives out there, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, well, that's probably another topic, but I get you. So, well, I thank you. I will continue.
The M1s are fantastic. Monday morning, we might find that the M2 is coming out. I don't know, but that's something to be abreast of. And we'll see.
Yeah. Constantly changing. That's what we've all witnessed that.
Yeah, but again,
this.
A lot of the people are still working with 10-year-old Macs, and that's really pretty cool. It's at some point though, it just they become, the other thing is too, is the new chips are so cool and so good, and it's amazing. So
yeah. Okay, well, thank you, sir.
All right, talk to you later, or see you here. All right, I'm not seeing if there's any other questions. Oh, Al, that's great. Al put in a wonderful thing in the chat. So if you fire up your chat window, it goes back to before we used to call them by names. Apple always had the names of the operating systems underneath. And it was pretty much about, I think, Snow Leopard, because it went from leopard to snow leopard, was the first time we kind of started hearing, instead of 10.6, we started hearing the names. And then, of course, at 10.8, they ran out of cat names. And so they switched to places in California for the names. Mavericks, which is the famous beach break by Pacifica on the coast, and that's where they used to have the Maverick surf contest. Yosemite, which you all know, and then within Yosemite you had El Capitan, and then Sierra, which is just the Sierras, and then the High Sierra, which is the Eastern Sierras, Mojave, the Great Mojave Desert, Catalina, the island, Big Sur, south of Carmel, Monterey, north of Carmel. And there are some rumors about what's the newest one going to be called? Al, did you hear any of those?
I have not.
I don't think Oakland was on the list.
No, I don't think that'll make it.
But I can't remember what I read now, and gosh darn it.
There's plenty of places in California that, state parks and
It
there's
has to
plenty
be a
of-
name that rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah. So I can't, I'm going to do a quick Google on it because Mac OS new name. Oh, no. Huh. Oh, yeah, there was something about a trademark or something, but it just didn't sound, it wasn't one that just came to mind. Oh, it was Mammoth. Yeah, Apple renewed a trademark. So, this was back in December, but I read it recently. Oh, this was Mac OS 13 could be called Mammoth as Apple renewed its trademark on Mammoth, the name Mammoth. And Mammoth, of course, is in the Eastern Sierras, where Mammoth Mountain Ski Area is, just near Bishop, California. So I don't know. Mammoth is kind of, because that takes on two different meanings, and not sure that they would do that. All right. Any other general questions? There's recordings. So I'm going to go in first, and I want to, I always kind of like to bring up to speed different tech things. First and foremost, and I'll share my screen here. And WWDC. Oh, and I just realized I need to change since you're going to be doing settings, hang on, I have to change my display so it's bigger for everybody when I have all these menus. Little tip, if you're going for display size, if you hold down the Option key and hit scaled, you get a bigger list of resolutions. And I like to do 720 for presentation. We're all big enough. All right. Anyway, so and let me take this bar and put it over here. All right. So WWC, Monday morning at 10 a.m., you should go to apple.com. And you have to view it in Safari or on your mobile devices or on your Apple TV, and they will announce some of what the new operating systems are for the fall and give us heads up on it. Now they'll divulge the name and and the name for both of them. And there's Mac or the iOS device. The iOS does not usually have a name, but they'll divulge the name of the new Mac OS. And WWDC stands for Worldwide Developer Conference. And what that is, it's a gathering, and while it be a virtual gathering, they're doing a little bit of a in-person too, but it's a gathering of the developers, and those are the people that make the applications for your phones, your iPads, for the TV, for the watch, and more particularly for the Mac. And so they come and they meet, and it'll be a preview of the software that comes out in the fall, which will be usually mid-September, or early to mid-September is when it will come out. But they will preview it, and they'll have some of the nice gems and things to expect. Now, they don't reveal everything because there's other gems when they announce it that they want to put out when it gets announced in the fall officially. But what this is the telling the developers, come to the starting gate, we're going to get you out here and you can start developing for the new operating system. And the developers do some pretty amazing things. There will be a few developers on stage that have had preview versions of it, and they've been developing some things that they'll show. There'll be some game ones, there'll be some creative ones, and other ones that'll be on there, and you'll see what direction they're heading. You know, you sometimes can gather a lot from what happens in these on these little invites, but this was the logo on the invite, so you can't gather a lot from it. Rumors of Apple doing virtual reality, like a virtual reality headset. There were some early indications that it might be showing up. Later indications are saying it might be next year. So augmented reality, virtual reality, and artificial reality. That's all. It's in Apple's wheelhouse, and we'll see. But I don't know. They're not gonna, unless it was going to be ready in the fall, they wouldn't be talking about it. So we'll see on that. But it gets pretty techy and pretty geeky. And then the whole rest of the week is these developers have sessions they can do with the Apple engineers to figure out how to do different things. And you know, those developers do a great job. And of course, then that's why we pay money for certain programs. So that is coming up, and that'll be Monday at 10 a.m. So I encourage that. Anybody have any questions on that? All right. So the next is, I was lucky enough to finally get delivery of my new Tesla Model S, and it's the plaid version, so it goes insanely fast, fastest accelerating car ever made by anyone. And I guess since I don't work like a real job anymore, I don't really need that to get to work. But other than that, it's pretty amazing. A lot of new features. But I wanted to kind of bring up to speed electric cars, because with the gas prices the way they are, there's lots of questions about electric cars, and as there should be. And I'd like to, be here to answer not just Tesla questions, anything about electric cars. I'm as up to speed on electric vehicles as I am on Mac stuff. And I even did I've got this spreadsheet here, and this spreadsheet is, let's see. There we go. So this spreadsheet takes, and I tried to do some comparisons for people. So I took the most popular cars on the left side, cars and trucks, and I'll just kind of go over this. And in fact, Al, remind me, and I'll put this on the cloud, and I'll give you the cloud link for it. It's so the four models of the Tesla, actually, like the S, I did the long range and the plaid. But anyway, the different models, I took a prospective trip. And the reason I picked Rockland to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, is because it is 1,000 miles. And that way it's very easy to analyze the different cars. And that trip assumes you're leaving with a full charge, because you charge your car at home every night. So you would be able to charge it like I charge mine from solar. And I have as full a battery as I want every morning, just like charging your phone. At the bottom, I have a gas car, and I used the US average, and I think I only used $4 a gallon for the price, but I did not assume that it left with a full tank, because you can't fill your car up at home. So I assumed that you would leave your house, go get a full tank, and then be on your way, whether it be the night before or that. So what our considerations here is the amount of charge time it takes to travel that 1,000 miles. Well, let's put that in a little perspective, because everybody knows that it takes longer on a trip to charge an electric car than it does to fill it with gas. But it's amazing because that time is getting less and less. But what people forget to think about is 98% of my driving I do within 150 miles of my house. Like when I go skiing 2 or 3 times a week in the winter, I go up to North Star, or I can go to Reno and come back. I can go to the Bay Area and come back. And I'm always using my charger at home. So therefore, 98% of my driving, I am never waiting in line at Costco to get gas. And when you look at it realistically, yes, it takes longer on a long trip to charge an electric car. But if you really look at it, every time you go get gas, it's about 15 minutes out of your life. Even if you're already going to Costco, that extra time getting gas is around 15 minutes. So you have to take that into perspective. And for me, in fact, driving 28,000 miles a year, I was getting gas twice a week, and my fuel bill for a month was $450. And this was back when gas prices were 3 and under. And so I was basically spending a half hour a week of time I'll never, ever get back. Whereas when I get out of my car, every time I get out of my car, I plug it in and it takes me 10 seconds. And so therefore, you have to take that in consideration, that you're not spending that time at the gas station during the week. And yes, in fact, when you travel, it takes a little bit longer. But this is all calculated in here. And the shortest charge would have been this Mercedes, because it has a pretty big battery and pretty efficient at an hour and 38 minutes, when really in a gas car, I said 4 stops. So at 15 minutes a stop. The difference is when you travel long distance, for instance, in my Model S Plaid, if I was going to go that 1,000 miles, remember, I'm probably going to stop for lunch at some point and for dinner. So if you plan to charge, the charging stations are around restaurants. So the time I'm sitting there charging is not wasted time, because I'm going to the restaurant. But anyway, all right, we got that fixed. Trying to get the open mics muted there. All right. Joan, you got a question? Go ahead.
I do. On the, I know that you can go charging and there's a whole lot of charge places for Tesla, but how do these other cars charge? Do they have an adapter or something to go to Tesla? Great
question. So let's address Tesla first, because Tesla has the best charging network. And I'll let me go here. And Tesla has really been the leader on this. And Tesla is, well, this is just a for instance. So if you look at Thursday, well, actually, it wasn't even a great day, but for instance, here, Monday, each of these days worldwide, they're either in permit or construction new locations for Tesla chargers. So if I look at this map, I'll give it the approval. This map, every red dot is a Tesla charging station. Each charging station has an average of 12 chargers in it. So you can see there's lots of different ways across the coast, and it's very, very easy, and it's fast. Now, I've gone as far north as right here at Jasper, way up there. I've done over 4,000 mile road trips. The blue dots mean they're in the permit process, and the orange cones mean they're being built right now. So there are chargers virtually everywhere. The only spot where I could not go right now is the old Highway 50 to Ely, Nevada. But I, in fact, just got a new adapter that will let me charge at the charging stations along that way. So that's Tesla. Now, the news is Tesla has been the first mover advantage on this. They have been building out charging stations like crazy. First of all, because they sell more cars than all other electric cars combined, but they also want to be the first mover advantage on this. So they're, and worldwide, they do tons of them. You can see here, there's one in Hawaii, all over Europe, China. They're even down in Mexico now. There's 2 in Alaska, Iceland. So they're really, really all over. And in some of the countries, and soon in the US, they are going to open the supercharger network to other cars with an adapter and with an account. Now, when you look at my spreadsheet, if you look at the price difference for this 1,000-mile trip, it's between $47 and $63 using a Tesla, whereas the remainder of these are at least double that and sometimes more. And that's using the public charging network. And I'll explain the public charging network. Teslas can use the public charging network. And again, like I said, soon the others will be able to use Teslas, but they will not get the same price that Tesla owners get at the Tesla charger. Tesla chargers for Tesla owners is designed to be a break even. It's not a profit-making business. And in fact, the electricity costs have gone up, but this will start to drop because they'll be feeding it with solar and with charging batteries late at night and stuff. So those prices are going to stay pretty good, but they're rising, not as bad as gas prices. But the public charging network, the biggest player is called Electrify America. And Electrify America is, they're rolling it out. They're about 3 years behind Tesla, but they're doing a fantastic job. And I can go use those if I want to. But the thing is, the Tesla network is so much better because it'll let me see how many people are at each charging spot, and they're all very well, they're all connected and they're very well serviced. Electrify America has some catching up to do. But how Electrify America has been able to do what they've done is that's Volkswagen or VW, and they had $2.5 billion from their Dieselgate settlement, from the problem with the diesels. In one of their agreements with the government on that settlement was that they would spend $2.5 billion building a charging network. And that's a good thing, and it benefits them, but they're open to anyone. But then the other thing is nothing said that they couldn't make money off of it. So they're taking that $2.5 billion in that settlement and leveraging it. And just like gas stations, they're going to be able to do it. And you can see that, for instance, the Mercedes, it's $112 to charge on that network. That's about what it would cost on a gas car. And again, these are based on $4 a gallon. Whereas on the Tesla, you're less than half that. And remember though, the rest of the driving, the 98% of my driving I do around my house it's done with my solar, or those of you that are on SMUD, your cost to drive around would be 5 to 6 times less than what you would pay for gas. So it works out to about 4 cents a mile. In SMUD, you can get down around 3 cents a mile, and PG in the rest are around 4 to 4.5 cents a mile. And that's so much cheaper than you can get gas for. So so at some hotels, they have chargers. And what those are slow chargers where you plug in just like you would at home. You plug in and then you charge overnight, and it's a slow charger. Most of those are free. Some have a slight charge, and that's very convenient because while you're sleeping, your car is charging. Now, to charge at home, it's the equivalent of an electric dryer is the plug you need at home is all. And it's anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to have that installed. And there's some incentives from the state and from the federal government for that. I should mention that in the new government proposal, they are rolling out more and more electric. There's money available to build electric charging stations. So you're going to see more of them. And that's necessary if you don't have a garage, because condo dwellers and apartment dwellers are going to need to charge somewhere too. So these other charging stations will help with that. Someone had another question they started there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you're charging on a 220 or you're charging on a
Yeah,
110.
a 110 is not feasible unless you're driving, 100. And if you're driving under 200 miles a week, you could get by with 110, but 220, so I can completely charge my car overnight. And to give you an example, so the charging at home, on average, you gain about 30 miles per hour of charge. And with the 110, you get about 3 to 4 miles per hour of charge. So, it's adequate if you don't drive a lot, but if you drive a decent amount, you really have to have the 220. That's
have
a
a
really good
question,
question
Ken.
too, by the way. Go ahead, Bob.
Why is there such a disparity in the amount that Tesla charges versus the amount that Electrify America charges?
Because Tesla is not, so Tesla, it does, Tesla makes their money on the car. They don't make the money on the service, and they don't make the money on the charging stations. The charging stations are a separate arm of the company. They're designed to be revenue neutral. Now, that doesn't mean when they open them up to the other car companies that they won't charge the competitive rates.
Okay, gotcha.
So the beauty of that is, and to take this a step further, Tesla attempts to do the right thing all the time. They open up their patents to other people, and they have always said, if any other car company wants to use their charging network, that they will allow that, but then they need to pay. Let's say Chevy was using 10% of the chargers. Well, that company would have to pay an equivalent amount of what it costs to install them and for them to charge to do it. But nobody wanted to do that. And the Tesla adapter is the neatest, best thing there is. And these other ones use this new thing called CCS, which is a bigger, bulkier cable. But it's become the standard for the US. And now Teslas can use an adapter that allows us to use those big, bulky cables too. So good question, but that's what it is. And Tesla is trying to do that. And Tesla is also, because they make solar and they're a big battery storage company, these prices are less likely to increase because Tesla soon will be an energy provider. And they have some different ways of attaching to the grid and things like that. But right now, for the time being, they're incumbent upon the utility companies, like in a PG&E area. PG&E prices are just absolutely terrible, incredibly big, whereas SMUD and Roseville Electric and those places have very reasonable electric rates. So just to point out too, because if the electricity goes out, you're not going to be able to charge, whether it be a supercharger or your home. Well, the same thing happens to a gas pump because gas pumps are electric. It was a long time ago, they were mechanical. So if the power goes up, a gas station can't operate. But what Tesla did is, if you remember those PG&E brownouts, there was an instance where they were affected Placerville, and there's a supercharger in Placerville. Well, Tesla, when they realized that was happening, they dispatched a big semi truck with a trailer, and this trailer has some big batteries on it, and they have chargers hooked to that trailer. So it sets up a temporary charging station while that power was out, so people could still use the supercharger. And that particular semi, they could charge 100 cars. It was somewhere close to that. And then they have to take it down to where there was power and recharge the batteries on the trailer and then bring it back up. So those are some interesting things that you don't think about, but it's, and if you're ever stuck in a jam, an RV park with hookups, you can plug in and charge slow like you charge at home, but they're a lot different than the fast charging. And just to let you know, the fast charging, basically, it's so like in this 1,000-mile trip, if I use the Model 3 with, let's do 5 stops or the Model S at 2 hours and 4 minutes, 5 stops. That's 20 minutes a stop or something, somewhere around there. But the thing is I would change that. I'd have 2 long stops where I eat. I drove from my house to Pocatello, Idaho. It was a 13-hour day. It was 2 hours and 40 something minutes worth of charging, but 40 minutes of that was sitting and having a nice lunch, and an hour of that was sitting and having a nice dinner. So the rest of that charging were very short stops, which barely had time to go to the restroom. All right, so another question. Harmon, go right ahead.
Yeah, you're saying you're using solar at your house. I'm just wondering, how is that connected to the Tesla?
Yeah,
Is it
so
direct
solar, solar doesn't directly connect to it, but how solar works. So my solar, obviously it only works when the sun is up. And what my solar does is, you can get batteries now, but batteries are great for doing your house at night or things like that. But the batteries in the cars are too big. You're still using the grid. So I use the grid as my battery. So what happens is, during the day, I have excess solar. So what I'm not using to keep my house nice and cool and things like that, the excess solar that I'm generating, the excess electricity, goes to PG&E, and they give me a credit for that energy. And what happens at night, when the rates are very low, the rates drop either at midnight or at 11 p.m. They're at very low, and that's when I tell my car to charge, and I don't have to press a button. I just tell my car, okay, I want to be ready to go at 6 a.m. and it will determine when it needs to start charging and all that. And so then it pulls the electricity from the grid at a very low rate, when during the day I'm giving it back to them at a very high rate. So over the year, I'm a net producer. I produce more electricity than I use, and so I essentially pay nothing throughout the entire year. And the June before my solar was installed, my electric bill was $560, and my solar was around 30 grand, and I got, well, it was 32 or 33. And this was back 5 years ago, and it's much less money now. The same system would be around $20,000, and you would get a $26 incentive in a tax rebate from the federal government for installing solar. So when you knock that price off of it, and especially if you're in PG&E, my solar panels all paid off within the first 4 years. I'm essentially free now because and don't lease them. Don't ever lease your solar panels. Don't do what's called a PPA. If you have to get a loan, you should own your solar panels. But and solar panels last at least 20 years, and they're probably going to last longer than that. So, but that's how I charge my car. It doesn't cost me anything. That $560 included the first June that I had my car, and it was a very, very hot summer, and I don't like to not run my air conditioner. Bev, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed on your picture that it looked like the Tesla had a front license plate holder.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a new change, unless the Plaids have always had that.
Well, they always come with it in the car. On the Model S's, they have it on there, but I had my car completely wrapped in paint protection film. So this has been removed. And funny you should mention it, because it's a little bit of an aerodynamic thing. And I frankly think the Model Y and the Model 3 look better with a license plate on them because it's so big in front. But the state of California now has made it so you can put a sticker of a license plate. So I have ordered it, and it's called license-wraps.com, I believe. It's approved by the DMV. So I have on my way a sticker. It's a reflective sticker that looks just like the license plate. And with my license removed there, it will stick to the front of my car where the license would be, but it follows the contour of the bumper.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I just recently got one of the clamp-on ones.
Yeah, the removable type ones. But yeah, to me, if I hadn't heard about the decal, I would have kept mine on, because it's just less of a hassle. The big thing is when you park like at Sacramento Airport and things like that, some people want to get sticky about it. It's only a fix-it ticket, but it's a hassle. So anyway, that should be arriving fairly soon. And my plates haven't arrived yet either. And my drive self plates will be coming over from the old one. So, and that's the other factor on the electric cars is I forgot to mention, there's no maintenance. They tell you when you get the car, just make sure the windshield washer's fluid is filled. And that's all electric cars, not hybrids, but all battery electric cars have an electric motor, and the electric motors are very simple and there's no transmission. So it's wonderful. All right. Any other questions on that? And you know, it's really the excitement, the speed, the dependability of the cars, and the quietness. But more than anything, the fun, the acceleration is just incredible.
Hey,
And I
Cam,
can turn my car on. I can turn the air conditioner on in my car before I go out to the car. My car is constantly connected to the internet, and it'll do a lot of other things. Somebody had a question there?
Is Tesla coming out with some sort of an SUV hatchback? I'm
Well, they
always in the market for a
So they have one, like if you look at this picture right behind me is what's called the Model X. And they call it an SUV, and it has these bizarre falcon wing doors. So it's a great people mover, soccer mom SUV. But if you want to carry anything on it, you can't put a roof rack on it because of the falcon wing doors. So you're stuck using the hitch for the bikes and everything else. But that's what they call an SUV.
Well, the Model Y though is sort of a hybrid.
Well, yeah, you know, I'm sorry. Yeah, that you're right. I completely forgot. It's a compact SUV.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
I love it. I don't have to bend over and break my back to get in the trunk.
I think the Model Y is a fantastic car, and I thank you, Bev, because I should have thought of that.
You get elevation when you're driving a little higher, easier to get into.
And you can put a rack on it.
Yes.
And you get 330 miles of range. Now, the interesting thing is, if you order it right now, you're not going to get it till 2023. They are in such demand and so backward, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't order it, because it's like $100, and you know, it's a fantastic car. And I should mention that not only are they 5-star rated by NHTSA, they get the highest rating by the Insurance Institutes of any cars they've ever tested. And that's because all these cars were designed from the ground up to have a battery underneath and have big crumple zones in the front. So the Insurance Institute, a lot of cars get 5 stars. So 5 stars is good. I mean, you have to have that. But beyond that, to have the top safety award for the IIHS and the European one is a big deal, because insurance companies are less worried about what it costs to replace a car or to fix a car. They're more concerned what it costs to fix the people that were involved in the wreck. So that rating is all based on occupant safety. So that's a huge deal. All right. Now, if no other questions, we will move on to photos. Thank you for indulging me, but I just thought, you know, the big talk has been, and I got to tell you, the Ford pickup, the F-150 pickup, is a fantastic, beautiful truck. They're sold out right now. And Ford is going to do a thing like Tesla. They're going to spin off their EVs and not sell it in the dealerships, because the dealers don't like selling electric cars because they don't make any money on the service. And most car dealers make their money not on selling you the car, because they have to be very competitive on that price. They make money on the service, aftermarket, and the warranty. Another company out there called Rivian builds a very nice truck. It's very unique. Tesla is coming out with a truck. It's really bizarre. I'll see if it's on here. And also, there's a company called Lucid. This is a very interesting truck. It's made with stainless steel panels that they got over from SpaceX. You can hit the body with a sledgehammer and it will not dent. So, and that's not going to be out till 2023. But it's either people like it or they don't like it. Most people don't like it. I'm kind of that way. Anyway, Lucid builds a beautiful car. It's expensive. Mercedes is building a nice car. And I tried to get a decent smattering of all of them here. And the trucks aren't as efficient. So they have bigger batteries and therefore they cost a lot more. Oh, by the way, Hyundai Ioniq is this one, I think for the price is some of the best going out there. And the Chevy Bolt, B-O-L-T, has just been marked down in price. I think they knocked $6,000 off of this. So it's very, very reasonable. So, and all of those can use the public charging network. So again, don't just, when you try to compare it with a Tesla, think about what it will cost you to charge in the long run. So, and Polestar down here, Polestar is a spinoff of Volvo, by the way. And the VW ID4 is down here. Great vehicle, fantastic vehicle. And there's more and more coming. All righty.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, it's been a year now, but we got a RAV4 because my wife wanted to sit higher. The Y, does it sit higher? I saw that it had low center of gravity. So does it sit down like a
yes,
passenger
it does
car?
sit high. You're about 5 inches higher. I would say it's about the equivalent of a RAV4. So they have them on display at Tesla in Rockland. They also have a Tesla store where the Maserati store used to be on Arden Way near Fulton, just west of Fulton on Arden Way.
Okay.
And it's on the north side. And that's the beauty of the Y. Yeah, you sit up and you're up and aware. And I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just a comment. Last month I was in Vegas visiting my daughter. And the Toyota dealer there had 5 used Teslas on their lot.
Yeah,
which
because
surprised me. I was shocked, but
remember, they probably didn't get those as trade-ins.
no. Well, that I don't know, but they needed to sell cars because they're not making, not getting any new Toyotas. So
well, and the other thing is the Teslas. So people who have 3-year-old or 4-year-old Model 3s are selling for $5,000 to $10,000 more than they paid back then. And that's not just a Tesla thing. That's partially because of Tesla, partially because it's electric, but it's the state of the used car market right now.
yeah.
Bertie, go ahead.
Hi, Ken, I have a friend who just bought a Tesla, and apparently the Tesla, the bottom beneath the doors is what, about 8 inches from the concrete? Can you address that? Are they all that low?
The Model 3 and the Model S are, but the Y and the X are a little higher, but it's I'm driven 200,000 miles on mine, and mine's the lowest one. Mine I can adjust; it goes up and down, but it's not clearance. Hasn't been an issue, and I go in the snow all the time.
Well, it was an issue for him. I have a sloped driveway, and he scraped the bottom. It's barely noticeable, but the Tesla people said it's $1,000 or $11,000 to repair that. That's why I'm asking the question.
On your sloped driveway.
Right. It's just in Orangeville.
Yeah. Well, did it? So is it underneath? It's probably the shield around the battery, which shouldn't have hurt anything. It's just it's cosmetic.
It's a cosmetic scrape on the passenger side. So I wondered if you have 4 people, will your car ride lower then, and you'll be more?
Yeah, very little, but that's kind of interesting. Send me a photo of your driveway, but that's there's ways to approach those driveways from an angle and things like that too, which I don't know. It depends on, find out which model it is.
I think it was the curb that probably hit it when you back out. I don't know.
Wow.
Just a question and a concern, and that might be a drawback.
I've had mine scrape when I go into that one entrance of La Placida, which you know quite well.
Oh yeah.
But so on mine, I just tell it to raise my air suspension, and then every time I come to that location, it automatically raises it.
I'll have to tell him about that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it depends on the model. All right. Okay, we're gonna dig into photos. Thank you again. So I have some photos I put together for the workshop. And let's see here. All righty, so this brings back memories. And it's funny because .Mac, right? I happened to be going through some stuff in my garage, and I found this old DVD for .Mac, and this was new for 2004. So a little bit of nostalgia there. And remember, it was Internet Essentials, and it started out as iTools, and then it became .Mac. And anyway, so some of this will be repeats from some of you that were at the general meeting, but we'll go through. And as we go along, we have time, so feel free to ask any questions you want. And these are going to be some of my photos, but it's not about the photo. I'm going to talk about things we can do to the photos, and that we'll get into, but also the reason and why you want to have these photos in your little repertoire. And the majority of the photos I'm going to show you were taken with my iPhone, dating back. I think I have one even from my iPhone 4. So I happen to live in Sun City, so I thought it was ironic that the roughing it tents that we're living in, as you see to the right up there, those really old, crumpy old tents that have hardwood floors and everything. We were in Sun City camp, and I live in Sun City, but this is in the middle of the Wadi Rum Desert in Jordan. And part of the thing here is it gave me a good chance I could have done this with portrait mode where it would have blurred the background, but pretty cool. This actually is a photo out from Rancho Cordova area. And the big thing here is this is an area where this is looking towards Jackson, from looking east towards Jackson at sunrise. And this is an area that I know floods after rainstorms, and not floods, but this farmer's land fills up, and it's right off of Grant Line Road. And so I always make sure I go there if it's going to be, if it's after some rain. So you can use those to great effect. Now you'll notice right down here in the left, I don't know if you know this, but there's a little bit of trash down there. So I'm going to go fix the couple flaws in this. And I'm going to click edit. And when I hit edit, I have the ability within the Photos program to do what's called retouch. And I should point out first that for most of you, you won't have all these things exposed. You might have a few of these things, but then down here at the bottom, you would say add. And what that does is it puts in light, puts in retouch, all of these different things. So retouch, or the little Band-Aid, allows me to do that. So when I click on this, I can adjust the size of my circle. So if I click the paintbrush, now I can see what size my circle is, okay? Otherwise, I can adjust the circle, and the circle indicates what I'm trying to fix, like if it's a big area. So I'm going to put this back down a ways. And I'm going to go over to this trash right here. And I'm going to say, and I'll bet I made it too small. Got rid of it. So let's say I don't like this barbed wire fence right here. Oops, I don't have a mouse. I'm using a trackball. This would be easier with a pencil. Yeah, see, that wasn't very good. I can come back over it. So I'm going to hit Command Z to undo it. Let's make my thing a little bigger. And now, oops. I get rid of the barbed wire fence, which you can get rid of. A lot of times you have power lines and things like that. So that tree is interesting there, but let's see if we can get rid of it. Boom, it's gone. So, you know, sometimes you might have a bird in the thing. So this is again called Retouch, and that's built in, and it's gotten better than it used to be. In fact, there's a little residual right there. Got rid of it. So I got rid of the trash, I got rid of everything else, and that cleaned that photo up. So we'll move on to the next photo. Yeah, not a lot to do on this one. I probably would boost the color on this a little bit, because it was I like to point this one out because it was a very foggy morning, and so I couldn't really do a sunrise photo, but there were other things going on. So I was next to a barbed wire fence, like you just saw the barbed wire fence in the last photo. And I looked and oh my gosh, there's this dew dripping on this photo. And I said, man, and what's interesting is if you look at this, and I'll zoom in, this water bubble, it's reversed. So it's like when you look through a lens, this is actually the ground and this is the sky. And when I enhance the color here a little bit, it'll be a little clearer. So you can see the ground's got a little more color to it there. Actually, let's just do this. So the barbed wire is this, the sky is very white because it's foggy, and then this is actually the ground. It's reversed. So that's it was just a neat thing. But look around, as we say in hockey, you want to have your head on a swivel. So when I go to set up to take photos, if I'm setting up my tripod or something, many people just go and they say, okay, I'm setting up right here. I will spend, if there's time, I'll spend a few minutes walking 20, 30 yards one way and walking 20, 30 yards the other way, just to figure out where my best angle is going to be. Because you get locked into a spot, you get focused, oh my gosh, I want to take this photo. And you want to look at, just go up and back. Shoshone Falls I was at not too long ago and did the same thing there. So this is the same area where I took that other one, and it was a different day. And actually, this is Christmas Eve in 2014. And there's that same tree we did, but I've got a little different angle. I'm a little bit to the left, and it worked better for this. You'll notice the other thing is the iPhone has the ability to soften this. I didn't do a long exposure, and this is really a pretty unmolested photo. So what I could do here is let's go into the edit screen, and let's go into light. And if you notice these weeds and stuff, they look a little dark. So what I do is anytime I'm using the adjustments in photos, I will go to the extreme either way to figure out where I want to be. Now, if I do that and I get where I don't want, I can simply hit Command Z or this little undo right here, and that undoes it. But in this case, I want to lighten the darkness. So if I just go to shadows, and again, I go from one extreme to the other, and then I find you can see that it's lightening up that area a little bit. And then I can come back to here. And that gives me a little bit of the greenery here, and I'm seeing a little bit better. Now, an underexposed shot can be fixed pretty well. An overexposed shot, it's very hard to fix. So now I'm going to do my color slider a little bit, and so I can over enhance it, and that's like crayons and too fake. So you come back into it here and do different things. And again, I have some pieces I could undo there if I wanted to spend time doing that. So the light and the color, you have this slider at the top, and what I'll do sometimes is I'll move it like this, and then I see, oh, well, that moved it that way, that moved it that way, and then I can adjust those things also. But I can just hit auto and it automatically does it, or I can do the slider, or I can do each individual slider, which was there where it brings out the shadows. So that's pretty good. Now, I'm going to go back, and like you can do with all photos, you can always revert to original. So there is my original photo as it was taken. I'm going to bring in another program that I use. So these are paid for programs that you can use the program with any photo you have, but I like to use it from within Photos. Photos is not only has all these wonderful adjustments, you can reach out and you can use other programs. And on this one, I'm going to use a program called Affinity Haze Removal. And I'm going to go to Affinity Haze Removal, and it will give me a preview. It takes a little bit because it's using a lot of processing. And this is I'm on an M1 MacBook Pro, which is pretty powerful, and it's still doing a lot because there's a lot to the photo. So it's about ready to, there we go. And Affinity Haze Removal is part of Affinity. So now it gives me a before and after. So this was the original photo. And if you look, that's a pretty nice enhancement. I like how it makes the darker part in the clouds a little darker. It doesn't really, it makes, if you look at the land here, it kind of does a pretty good job of darkening that. And it's essentially taking and getting rid of haze. I have adjustments here. I can do expose. So it's set, that's the automatic one. And I can do exposure correction within it. If you see the before and after. Distance would be how far away. So I'm affecting it farther away. And now I'm not affecting it only close. Look at the clouds in the background as I say, ooh, affect farther away. So it's doing that. And then you can adjust the overall strength of how it corrects. And you can play with those. So I'm going to hit cancel, and there's the original. And the original is good, but you can play with it. Now, Affinity Photo for the Mac is really cool. And I will pull that up. It's Serif. I'll just do it this way. So this is Affinity Photo, and those of you that were at the general meeting, hopefully you bought it because it was half price, but it's incredible, and it comes with lots of features on it. Now, unlike Lightroom, unlike Adobe Photoshop, you buy this, you own it. And I have been getting upgrades for these for quite a while. And I just bought the original one. And if we click buy now, if you're a current owner, you get discounts. So $54.99, it was 26 something recently. You do have a free trial on it. You can also buy these in the App Store and the iPad version. Now, the beauty of the iPad version is it doesn't have to be a new iPad, but I think an iPad within 4 years, you can actually take the Apple Pencil and you could massage it with the pencil, the sky, and do different things like that on the iPad version. So that's fantastic also. And I'm going to show you if we go to the App Store and you can either purchase it direct from them and install it, or you can buy it on the App Store. Now, Affinity has some other things that are nice too. Affinity Designer and Affinity Publisher. So Affinity Designer is the equivalent of Adobe. There's InDesign, and what's the other popular Adobe?
Premiere.
Elements.
The one for desktop publishing. There's InDesign and, well, anyway, this is both of those. You can tell I use it. Adobe is not your friend. But anyway, and you own these products with that. And sometimes they bundle them together. But I'll go back to Photos and show, and I mean, Affinity is just great. And again, like I said, they have the App Store. So Affinity Photo would be equivalent of Photoshop, InDesign, and whatever the other one is.
Illustrator.
Illustrator, thank you. So Illustrator is Designer, and Affinity Publisher is like InDesign. There we go. Bob, thank you. All right, back to photos. But then when we go to edit, so if you'll notice this, what Affinity does is I get all of these separate programs when I buy Affinity. So Affinity Haze Removal, Affinity Develop, Retouch, Liquify, Affinity Miniature, different things like that. They didn't break them out. Now we have the other one called Luminar, and Luminar is the other one that's really fantastic. And it is, and by the way, both Affinity and Luminar were originally only for the Mac, and now they do Windows 2. But Skyloom. So Skyloom, it used to be called MacFun, MacFun, but they changed their name when they were going to branch out. So when you see this and it says view plans, well, remember, you don't have to buy a plan, and I'll show you what the difference is. So you buy Luminar, which is on sale right now, a single seat for one computer, $49, you own it. 2 seats, it's $59. They have this membership plan that allows you to get other add-on features, which you don't need, and that's their subscription model. And by the way, this Aurora HDR is a good program, and it's included with Luminar. Now you own that, and it will work as long as your computer software, the Mac OS will support it. It will work for a long time. They do update it, but what generally speaking is where Affinity is you buy it, you pretty much, they give you updates along the way. What happens with Luminar is they come out with, they recently had, the one before this was called Luminar AI. Then before that, it was Luminar 4. Then it was Luminar 3. So what they do is every 1 or 2 years, they come up with a new version. If you're an existing user, they give you a discount on it. Or you can just keep using the one you're using because it won't expire, and you can go to the new one. What they try to do is they try to increase the features in each new model to entice you to go to it. And what Luminar AI and Luminar Neo do is they use artificial intelligence to make your photos right. Now you can still go in and do whatever you want on your photos, but it really is a way to do that. I'm going to show you some of that back on photos. And again, they're standalone programs you can use as a standalone, but the beauty of the thing is that it's designed so that within photos, I can go manipulate a photo, like here with Luminar AI. I can manipulate the photo and it never leaves my photos library. So you don't have to bring it out and put it on your desktop and then bring it into Luminar and then bring it back out to your desktop and bring it back to photos. You can round trip it. And this is all what's called extensibility. And it's wonderful to do that. Whether you buy it from the App Store or whether you buy it from them direct, it will work. Pixelmator Pro is another one that's very reasonably priced. And it was Pixelmator for years. And they gave you updates along the way. And then they finally said, okay, 8 years is enough. Let's come out with Pixelmator Pro. And it's fantastic. So I'm going to show you Snap-Heal is one I like, and I'm going to try do this. It's been tough. We have this little, actually, I'm going to use that later in another photo. So anyway, this extensibility allows you to do whatever you want with these photos, and then it stays in here. But remember, the best thing is I can always revert back to original because the original photo stays there. So when I was doing that morning that was really foggy, I decided to drive around a little bit. This is out on Grant Line Road actually, this is very close to the Sacramento County dump. And this is on the road that goes from the dump, the back road to Rancho Murrieta. And I just happened to pull in here and I saw some stuff and I looked down and I said, well, that's a pretty cool photo. And this is actually that road, and this road in the winter floods, but this is what the fog. So I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons. When I had a foggy morning, I just said, what the heck? And for me, this just worked out great. This is totally untouched. And I could probably remove this sign if I wanted and things like that. Like there's a little flaw down here. This was not with my iPhone, by the way. So I'm doing sunsets from out on Grant Line Road, looking towards Sacramento, and I'm done. I'm getting ready to go back to the car, and luckily I turned back around and there was a pretty cool moonrise. So, and this one would be hard to remove I could remove the wires, but I wouldn't want to spend time with it. So like I said, as far as taking photos, keep your head on the swivel. I know Bob and Al, they're great photographers, and Al does some wonderful shots he posts on Facebook from the river, does that all the time. Not much on this one. So this was interesting. I was, or at least I think it's interesting. I was on an Alaskan cruise and we were pulling into, I believe it was Juneau, actually. Oh, that's funny. It got transferred over without the metadata. But anyway, it was early in the morning and the ship had been at sea all night. It's kind of misty. And we pull in and I wanted to get up. We're on the side of the ship that had a good view as we docked right into the town. I would have an overhead view of the thing. And I looked at the railing and I was going to put my Gorilla Pod on the railing, and I started to wipe the water off of the railing, and I looked at it and I go, my God, that's a great pattern. And the little things like this are just patterns you can use for other things, because it was nice and finished with good shellac on it. You can see the grain of the wood and then through the water. Just thought it was a good effect. So again, be looking around. I know when I dive, there's a lot of people that come back from a dive and they say, oh my God, I didn't see anything. And what they did is they're really in a hurry to get somewhere, and they pass, they swim real fast under the water to get to one place, and then they come back to the boat and they say, I didn't see anything. Whereas if you go down and you hang around and you just go into minute detail and check out every little itty bitty crook and cranny and stuff, you end up seeing a lot of stuff. So take your time and just look around. Actually, this is the same area where I did the other water photos from. It's actually not the same location as the one that's my background here. Timing was everything. And this was pretty interesting. There was a sandhill crane and a heron, and I'm photographing both of them back and forth. And then I turn around and I see this guy with this fish in his mouth. So I got a picture of that, and it's not a great picture because I was a pretty good distance, but there's some new tools that'll make it a little cleaner. But the best part about this when I'm taking this picture, I'm standing on the boat ramp, and I took this picture, then I went back and took some others, and just within a minute, a guy's starting to back up, and I realize I'm in his way. So I get out of the way and I say, hey, sorry about that. And he had a little inflatable boat on the back, and he goes, man, I'm coming out fishing here for the first time, and I hear they stocked the lake. And he goes, I go, well, yeah, here, look at this. And I showed him this picture I'd just taken of this big fish. And this guy, man, he practically flew into the lake to get out there and get fishing. And I don't know how he did, but up in Alaska, I just, this was inside. And so what I did is, this was in one of those raptor, this is a place where this eagle has to be captive because there's some, due to injuries, it can't be released in the wild. So it's in there. They're still very attentive and it's very, but anytime you go into a situation like that, I made sure that I look around. Don't just go take a seat. Look around and find what seat is going to give you the best view for different things. And think about that the entire time. Plan that. Whether you're out shooting a sunrise from different places, think about ahead of time where people are going to be, where you're going to be, and try position it. And I'm like, gosh, 8 feet from this eagle, and it just is cool. So timing and preparation is the point here. So this is called Bow Lake, B-O-W Lake, and it's 45 minutes north of Banff in Banff and Lake Louise in Canada. And I had seen this spot because we were going this, and then we were going over 100 miles north of this for the day on what's called the Icefields Parkway. But I had seen this lake, and I used the what's called TPE, the photographer's ephemeris, thanks to Al, who turned me on to that years ago. And I had looked at where sunrise would be that next morning, what angle, and I said, boom, I'm going to be there by sunrise. And I figured out what sunrise was. And by the way, you want to be there before sunrise, at least 30 minutes before, because the best clouds are 10 to 15 minutes before the sun actually rises. And the same for sunset. It's the setting sun after sunset that's better. So it was cloudy in the morning, and I could have slept in. I'm going, it won't be any good. Well, no, I went there, and I went up there, and I took this photo, and this is my iPhone XS Max. So this was October 30th, 2019. So we parked. You can see there's a couple little water droplets here, but this was sunrise, and I'm just so happy we were there. This is right where we parked the car, walked to the lake, and boom, we're right there looking at this. So this was at just 6 minutes before 7 a.m., sunrise. And then a few minutes later, it's starting to rain with earnest now. You can see all these drops. So I positioned myself under this tree, and I'm getting basically the same shot. You can see the different mountain in the background. That's at 7:08. Then a minute later, the light had changed a little bit, and it was really neat effect with these under there. And all of these are within, I'm walking maybe 20, 30 feet. And then it starts to clear up a little better. This is at 7:12. At this point, we had gotten a little bit wet. So we went inside. Oh, I'm sorry. I've got another 2 minutes later was this one. Then I went inside, we came back out. So from 7:14 or 7:15, here it is 5 minutes later, and look at the difference. So we went in, we just kind of shook the water off of us, came back out, and now we've got a little bit of wind ripple. We've got great reflection and great lighting. And then one of my favorite pictures I've ever taken was right here. And I do have two of them. No, I did one. So this is after the rain. We have this wonderful cloud sticking around, the wonderful reflection. In the upper left up here, there's a glacier, and the glacier leads to a little waterfall. But what happened here is, and I didn't really realize it when I was taking it, but there's this blue streak along there. And that blue streak just happens to be a little bit of wind ripple. And then you see the reflection, of course, and that's what I was really trying to capture here. But what I didn't notice till afterwards is this reflection down here is not really a reflection of the rock here. It's actually the pebbles. It's shaded, but it's the pebbles underneath. Yes, this is the reflection of the cloud, but this here are the actual pebbles underneath the water. So, and this is an iPhone shot again. And it's just the iPhone takes great pictures. When I travel, I now take 90+% of my photos with my iPhone. So the other thing is, this is 2016. In fact, actually, the people I was visiting here, I had lunch with yesterday. They're in town. They live in Colombia. This is near Medellin, Colombia. But this wonderful little town square in a town called Guatapé, and the colors. And this is just I don't know if this was a Sunday or what, but they just gather around and just capture that stuff. And the other thing is, look for different places. So I'm walking around, I'm trying to look at different aspects of this. And I looked, and oh my gosh, there's these rental bikes. And this was a little bit later, but I saw these rental bikes, and they've got the same pastel colors as that. So don't be afraid to get low. I had to get down low to get this, but it really gave a neat effect. And none of these are really massaged photos at all. So, and I took probably 15 different angles with these bikes, and you can always fix them later. So this is actually, I think I edited this one. So I'm going to I got to revert back to original on this. So this is Al was with us on this trip, and Ken Henry. This was in 2019. We're on the Swinging Bridge, and this is Yosemite Falls. So I have a photo. The only photograph I've ever bought. Well, I'm sorry. I bought 2 photographs, and one was years ago of Yosemite with a bunch of snow on the ground, and I vowed to go get my own pictures. So we trudged through the snow to get there, and it was a long ride, and it was amazing. But then I've got this beautiful shot, and I've got this guy over here that's a photographer. Well, I can't yell at him and say, hey, duck down or wear white clothes or something. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to edit it. And actually, let's go ahead and zoom in first. Let's zoom in if it'll let me do it this way. So there's the photographer. There's his little bag. So I'll hit edit. And I'm going to use one called Snap Heel. And, ooh, it might be working. And it might not be too. It puts this weird little cover over it. Okay. So I can adjust the size of this. So if I click it and say erase, then it's going to come up and give you a saying, oh, it's too quick. That guy is gone. So I love it. Now I have a clean photo. So I can I'll hit cancel because I always want to, I use this one for as an example. So I was able to remove that guy. So Snap Heel's fantastic. Let's go back. Since I've reverted to original, I want to massage this photo a little bit. So I'm going to bring in Affinity Haze Removal again. First I should mention, your first go-to, actually, I'm going to hit done and then edit again. There we go. So your first go-to is always this little magic wand. So watch when I hit the magic wand, we'll see what it does. Yeah, did you notice it brightened it up a little bit? I'll undo the magic wand. Let's see, undo, Command Z. So the magic wand does a pretty good job, and that brightened it up a bit. I like that. But let's go to edit, and let's go to Affinity Haze Removal. Now, I don't have a lot of haze I'm trying to get rid of here, but you'll find, look how it boosts the sky. And also the difference between, and it brings out the lighting there, but look at what difference it makes on the sky. So to me, that works pretty darn well, and I like that. So now I've massaged that photo, and we'll look at how, photography is light and what it did for this. Now, with Affinity on the iPad or with other things, I can do my light boost in just certain areas. Like you could over brighten this and under brighten this. Now, the one problem I have with this photo, this snow looks a little bluish to me. So if I go down here, we have white balance. So I expose white balance. I'm going to hit auto and see what it does. Pretty darn good. I'm going to undo that and show you how to do a white balance. So it's a neutral gray is usually what you want. You would do skin tone if you're trying to get someone's skin perfect, or do temperature and tint where you can adjust it. But I'm going to do neutral gray. I click the little eyedropper, and while this isn't gray, it's white. So I'm trying to say, make this look white. And now you'll notice that this had gone from blue to white. And now it even made this stand out a little bit better. And this snow no longer looks blue, because with tough lighting situations, snow a lot of times turns out to be blue. So I would massage this just a little bit. I might go ahead and bring that over, and we'll go ahead and give it a little more color right there. And I could do some saturation here if I want. Okay, that's a little much. I'm starting to get into that fake range. Harmon, go right ahead and ask your question.
Is there an order to the different adjustments? In other words, you like to do the white first and then go after the haze and the light in the sky, or just try a little of this way and a little of that way?
Well, okay, so good question. So let me do this. Let me adjust, let's say, and I'm gonna overdo the photo. Okay. That looks not the way we would do it, but I'm doing this to just show a point. And your question is great. So white balance should be your first thing, because it's going to pretty much erase everything else you did. When I go over here, I'm going to use it. Oh, see, it didn't. Let's revert back to original. Let's make it ugly. And now let's see what neutral gray does. Yeah, see, it doesn't retain most of that. I mean, that stuff is there. So I guess it does retain it. But I personally like to start with the white balance. If I need white balance, and I don't do white balance that often. Al or Bob, you guys can please harp in on any of this too, because you guys are very accomplished photographers and manipulators. So nothing.
I have a couple of links.
I think if I know I'm going to do white balance, I do it first.
I'm not accomplished. I play with it, but I don't consider myself accomplished.
and remember, I said also too, I go from one extreme to the other to kind of see things. And then I kind of I use that to see, well, how's that affecting the photo? And then it gives me an idea of what to do. Some people use what's called histograms, and I don't know how to read a histogram. This is a histogram, and this tells you what's saturating in there.
That's a good looking one.
Well, it was the iPhone photo, so I lucked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, on histograms, you're looking to not have these peaks. And
Well,
I'll show
you're
you
looking
something.
Also to have a good spread like that one has.
Yeah, in fact, if we go to, there's the original right there. And again, I think this was an iPhone. This is the 10S. So I've got some pretty decent cameras, but if I want the picture to be for sure, it's with the iPhone. It's just, and God, that's the 10S. The new 13 is incredible. So anyway, we'll move on to the next one. And again, don't forget the magic wand. That's a really good one. And what's funny is on the newer iPhone photos, the magic wand, you hardly see a difference because it does such a good job. So Harmon, yeah, I would say, and don't forget, no matter what you do, you can always say revert to original. Okay.
Can I just, when I'm doing stuff on the phone, I make a duplicate and then play all I want with the other, and I don't even have to worry about reverting because I've got that one saved and I can go crazy with the duplicate. Good point.
And then, but then the problem is just make sure you don't have lots of duplicates. But I agree with that, and I do the same thing. But what makes me do it less is I always know I can revert to original. And the same applies to when you're cropping things. Let's say you had 5 people in a photo, and for some reason you wanted to crop the one person on the right-hand side out. You crop them out, you've got a new photo. Well, you can always revert to original and that person comes back into the photo. But I don't disagree with the duplicates, and it is a technique, and I've used it sometimes to just get little tweaks so I can see it. And then I make it a point to try to go back and remember to get rid of the duplicate I'm not using.
Ken, this is Bev. When
Yeah.
you have your original and then you're tweaking on it, And then is there a way to save your tweaks when for whatever reason you revert to the original, but then want to go back and save all your tweaks?
No, and that's where Harmon's technique kind of comes in and helps you a little bit.
Okay.
Now, what I should recommend is, or excuse me, what I should remind you is that, let's say I'm working on a photo and I do, just for instance, let's say I do 100 different little tweaks, okay? I always can go up to edit and say undo or redo incrementally, step by step by step. You have unlimited undos on what you do. So
Can I throw a
not
different
that-
angle at her question?
Okay, yeah, please.
When you go into one of the apps, like Affinity, one of the Affinity apps or one of the Luminar apps, you have the ability to save your own styles.
Yeah.
So you could take and fiddle with a photograph and you like it this way, save it at that point as a style, then you can do whatever you want with a photograph and always come back and apply that style to it because that's what you liked.
Sure. And Bob, that's a great point, because if you look at this, Bev, I have 2 photos really similar. They're different photos, but different lighting or different things. But I could apply whatever tweaks I made on one to the other in there.
Uh-huh.
Now, another technique is I could take this original photo, export it to my desktop and I'll just show you your options there. Export one photo, that means with tweaks, or the unmodified original without tweaks. And then you could bring it into Luminar or Affinity and any of those standalone programs, because even though it works within Photos, you can always open it up independently in the other one, get what you want. You could save 12 different versions of that photo outside of Photos and do what you want, and then bring back in what you want. That's an alternative, and that's getting high techy there. Again, you're defeating the cataloging of Photos. So if you do that, then if you have the one you like, bring it back into Photos, because the beauty of Photos is it syncs on the cloud. So all the changes you've made go over to all your devices. You always have it. It's being backed up on the cloud. You can share it. You can do different things like that. So that's, it's kind of 3 different ways to accomplish the same, but more if you want. Great. And Harmon, did that answer it for you too?
Yeah, I haven't worried too much about having extra duplicates, but there's just every now and then there's one that I want to do lots of stuff to and not necessarily have to, like Bev was saying, lose track of all the different things. So
right. And remember, all of them can go back to original. If you do this externally out of iPhoto, you can go back to original within that program, but sometimes the saves along the way don't. But again, if you're really working on a photo quite a bit and you get it where you like it, and then you want to tweak it farther, yeah, if you hit revert to original, it goes back to the original, and you lose all that nice stuff in between. So that's a good tactic, and I'm really glad you brought it up. So this was, yeah, actually just the same photo, pretty much same location, just zoomed in a little different. Oh, you know what? I think, hang on. Yeah, here was the guy again. So let's see how that works. Let's go back and get rid of this guy. We'll zoom into the guy again. And we'll use Snap Heel, because this is not an easy one. Actually, let's use apples first. So I'll go to retouch. And I'll just take this. Pretty good. I got to get rid of right there. Not too bad. So I'm gonna, now I have one stage of undo. There it is. It's undone. Now I'm going to go to Snap Heel. And I have to move this mask that it puts on it. It's really weird. And I'll make this a little smaller. See, that didn't work very well because it did the whole thing. So I'll Command Z. Well, that's interesting. I'll hit cancel. Because my screen is zoomed in so much, it presents a problem here. So let's go Snap Heal again. And I'll do a smaller circle. What I am going to do though is zoom in. And I'm going to make this much smaller. A little larger. And we'll see, because Snap Heal usually does a great job. And pretty good. Apple did better in this case. And boy, I'll tell you, Snap Heal is usually the winner for me.
But I don't
So-
like what it did.
Huh?
I don't like the results.
I don't either. And
Because
that's
you
a
can
first.
still, where you had the red marking, you can still see a white outline.
Well, that's what I'm
got
saying is it
erased.
kind of clones it from a different area. If I get rid of this log, I'll bet you it does it well. See, that's almost perfect. But let's cancel this and let's go back to Apple's one, because Apple's used to be not very good, but I'll tell you, I've been more impressed with it recently. So here we go. Whoever this guy is, I feel sorry for him.
Well, I don't know. You keep bringing them back to life.
See, look, oh my God.
That
Hey,
looks
I'm
good.
back in the Apple camp on this. That is almost perfect.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to try it a little different because of the shadowing right here. I'm going to undo. Oh no, that shadowing is that his shadow though, I guess? Hard to tell. But that, man, that I'm
I
impressed.
think it is.
I'll do like this. We'll see. We're experimenting. Oh, look at that. It even got rid of the shadow now. So we'll do this guy. And just because this, let's see, let's go crazy now, since we're liking how well it works. Oh my gosh. All right. Winner, winner,
Question
Apple.
is, do you have to fill in the middle?
Oh, let's check. You mean make it a big thing or?
Just do a ring around it and don't go
do the
fill
whole
the
big
middle.
ring?
See what happens.
Yeah, hang on. A little bigger.
No. Don't make it bigger.
Well, let's try bigger first.
But that isn't what I was asking.
Okay. Oh, what did you want to do, Bob?
Make your brush a lot smaller again. And now just draw a closed circle around that bush
Oh, I got what you're saying.
and see if we just want to see if it'll help. Okay,
Yeah.
that answers that question. You
It
do
only
have to-
it so
fill in
it,
the middle.
think of it as a pencil eraser.
Yeah.
So anyway, that I'll tell you, that's in fact like this branch, this would be, oh man, that would enhance it too, because it's in the way. Oh my gosh, that's a great one. Little bit of a weird one there. Yeah, got rid of that. Awesome. Okay, Snap Heal, you're dead to me now. All right,
And-
well, go ahead.
And this is Anna.
Hi.
One thing is I use Snapseed, and that way you can save it as a copy. And that way, and it has all the similar functions as the native edit in Photos, but you save it as a copy, and then you don't lose the original. You can
And that's
also
Snapseed on iOS or on the Mac?
iOS,
Yeah, because they don't have it for the Mac.
right? My other
Snapseed
question,
Snapseed is very good, and it's been around for quite a while. Google, I think, is Snapseed, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, and it's free, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a very good one. And so what she's saying is that it saves it. So you allow Snapseed to have access to your photos library on the iOS, and you then it will make a copy for you and do it that way. And
My
I haven't
question-
used Snapseed in quite a while because photo editing on the iPhone, which is one we'll do at another time, is as remarkable as this.
Right. I have one question about that, if I
Sure,
may.
and thank you for that, because I haven't looked at Snapseed in quite a while, and it's very, very good.
Yeah. On
It was
iOS,
so far ahead in the early iPhone, it was the go-to over the Photos app built into the phone.
yeah. On
Go ahead and ask
iOS,
your question.
on iOS, where you have the ellipsis in the Photos edit, so you can choose a different app. I've looked to see how I could add some of the other apps that I use, like Remini, which is great for taking blur out of faces. And it says something about they have to have an extension. How do I know if a second party app has the extension for iOS Photos app?
Well, so what you, in fact, let me hook my phone up, because this is a great question. So let me share my phone screen. No, I don't want to import. Stop share and share screen, iPhone via cable. Okay, are you guys seeing my phone?
Yes.
Okay, now, if I go into Photos, and actually we'll just edit, do it out of the photo stream. Oh, that's interesting. There we go. So if I hit edit, and I hit the ellipsis like this. So this is, and what she's pointing out is this is just like the share screen when you share to email or print or whatever. These are programs that I have on my phone that work for it. And when I hit more, it says I have all of them there, and they're all in. I would remove them from that. But if they're not showing up here, it's probably that it doesn't work with what's called extensibility.
Okay.
So you'll notice here Pixelmator works, and some of the others in there, Obscura and Retouch. So if it's not here, and what you do is when you hit the ellipsis, the three dots,
right?
When you tap that and then go here and hit more, actually, oh yeah, you have to hit more. And then that more, let me take Afterlight out, for instance. I'm going to hit edit, and I removed Afterlight. So now when I do this, you can see that, oh, actually I added Afterlight. So you can see the ones that are added and not added there. So I'm going to hit edit. I'm going to add Pixelmator. Done. Done. So now, see, they were there before, even though I didn't add them.
Right.
So, but the more, if you have one that is available, but just not in your list, it would show up here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's, again, kind of the same thing. And what you have to understand is this whole this extensibility, in other words, making extensions, is a pretty wild thing. And it's a secure way for Apple to allow these other programs to work within their very safe and secure environment that they have. And so to me, that's just a pretty amazing thing that they're able to do that. And it took Apple a lot of work to be able to do it. Okay, back to, we were here. Okay, so we were able to get rid of the photographer. And again, I think Apple is the great way to do it. That would have worked well for the trash bag and things. So I have a new best friend there. So now we're on the swinging bridge here in February 2019, looking towards Yosemite Falls. So if you turn back around, this is the view the other way. And we were there, it was early in the morning, 7:20 in the morning. But what I did here is a couple of weeks ago, I was in Yosemite and I said, oh, you know, I have these photos. So I took this same shot from the swinging bridge on May 2nd. So, you know, to recreate things like that. Like I have a series of photos too, that is, in fact, when Al put in the different operating systems that were named earlier on, I have the photo that they took for I haven't done Mavericks, but I have the picture of Yosemite they used that I took. I took that same photo, the one of El Capitan, the Sierra one, the High Sierra one, which I did, which is North Lake. Mojave, I have not done the Mojave Desert. I do have pictures of Catalina, but I don't have that exact one because that was a helicopter or drone shot. I have not recreated the Big Sur picture yet either, because that's drone. And then the Monterey one, I have not recreated yet, but I have done a few of them. And I just think it's fun to go to the different areas. Like, for instance, the High Sierra photo is at North Lake, which is out of Bishop. And it's a wonderful place to go when the colors change. So anyway, this just shows you the juxtaposition between winter and summer from the same area. This is the same shot we've been looking at and summer version of it. Winter, summer. And it just, I was early in the morning. I had stopped to do a sunrise. Actually, this is one, these clouds are going to pop. So let's use, I haven't adjusted this photo at all. Let's go to, this is going to be a wonderful one to highlight the clouds. Look at how it makes the clouds look angrier. And look at what it does in this background here. Again, this is haze removal. Now, it doesn't do a lot for this stuff, but this, it really does. So I do my haze removal first because it also, to me, it creates a little bit of a HDR effect. And then with this one, I'd go in here and I'd just say, let's do auto. Auto was good. Color, I like it. So I used the auto here. I might bump this saturation just a little bit. And our little guy isn't standing here to delete him. But anyway, and there's these little air bubbles and things. So, you know, not a perfect shot. This is actually one I should have done with the phone with what's called long exposure, which I'm going to talk to you in a little bit. So anyway, summer, winter, same location. Same thing here. This is one of the turnouts as you're leaving the valley. Winter, summer. This is a challenging shot, and this is one that is really tough. And I liked the positioning. I'm going to hit revert to original. So it's pretty washed out here. So we really need to do a few things. So let's try auto first. And here. So what I can do here is let's saturate the colors up a little bit. And I actually want to tone that down. Now, this would be an example where if I could sit and do this certain area and redo the actual, the sun to get it out of the way. I had to wait a while to get this because I was waiting for the sun to go behind this rock, but the angle of the sun kept tracking up this way, so it wasn't going to hide behind the rock. And how I found that out is, this is another app that's killer. I am going to switch back to my phone again. Let's see here. Let me switch back to my phone because this is cool. I'm going to share iPhone via cable. So I'm going to do called Sun Surveyor. And I used this when I did the eclipse. So this is Sun Surveyor. So you're seeing my, so basically you're looking at my screen, but if I go up, so there's the sun, and the sun goes from down here and where the sun's going to track. Let's see, is that, yeah, June 4th. So the sun is tracking. So I use the sun to track, but I'm not finding where it is right now. Anyway, and the blue is the moon, by the way, but I would hold this up outside and I could track where it is and I could see. And so what I did in this case, in this picture that I was explaining to you, I had that morning when the sun was tracking, I said, okay, oops, I almost ended the meeting. That wouldn't have been good. I said, wow, that sun is going to, I thought it was going to go behind here, but when I used Sun Surveyor, it showed it was going to just increase up that way. So I didn't wait around any longer for that to work. So Sun Surveyor is another great app, along with TPE, the Photographer's Ephemeris, and there's also one called Photo Pills. And, you know, positioning is so much, and it really shows you. And I also have a guide of Yosemite that a guy gave me, or excuse me, that a guy that I know put together. Well, I don't know him, excuse me. I know who he is. There we go. That is all different times a year where you want to take photos in Yosemite. This is one here too. I'm in Yellowstone in the middle of winter, and just, you know, look for different effects and come back. And this was just pretty weird that it's snow and steaming water and just amazing. Snowflakes. This is one here where I think it'll do, there's the original, but I think this really needs a bit of a color boost. And I'll tell you, this is an iPhone shot, and snow is not easy to shoot, and the iPhone does a great job. So let's boost the color on this a little bit for effect. In fact, I'm going to show you another thing I can do. Actually, I'm going to undo that. So if I go down here, here is what's called selective color. So if I hit selective color, I want to basically heighten this bluish color, this teal color. So I'm going to boost that. And if you look, it is heightening just that bluish color right in the middle here. It heightened that. I think I have one later I can do where it does more of a red. So again, I go to extremes. Notice how it's really not much. And now I've boosted it. It's a little hard to see, but it really brought this out a little bit better. So, and this is another one. This one was fairly neutral as far as the white balance. It didn't have the blue tint to it because it's kind of overcast skies. This one, this was, don't forget to do a video because I've got something that's got sound here. The gurgling. And a lot of times, like for instance, whenever I go to a national park, I make sure that I get either when I'm entering or leaving, I get a picture of the national park sign. But something like this, when I saw this buffalo, or this bison, I'm going, man, I'm going to be able, that's going to be my beginning of Yellowstone kind of thing. Now, here's a technique that's interesting. It was in Yellowstone, what was it, a year and a half ago. And in Yellowstone, there's only one road that's open in the winter. They keep that road open, but the rest of the park, you have to be in over the snow vehicles. And that does not mean a car with chains. It means either a snowmobile or a tracked vehicle, or what they're doing now is big van, not big vans, but like vans and shuttle-sized vans with big, huge flotation tires on it. So you go over the snow, because otherwise you tear up the snow on the road and nobody can go along. And they actually use the snow machines that we use at ski resorts to pack the runs. They actually pack the roads. So you have to be some sort of over the snow vehicle, and it's usually affiliated with a tour, or you can go in, they can shuttle you in that thing. So we're in this over the snow. We did a tour, and the guide had these spotting scopes, and spotting scopes you'll see are like hunters use, or wildlife people to look for something. Rather than having a big camera with a huge lens that you've got to put on a tripod and all that, they had the spotting scope, and the spotting scope zoom in. This is quite a ways away, and believe it or not, it's cutting through. There was some fog and mist in between from the steam, but this eagle was sitting, this guy was quite a ways away, and this is an iPhone photo with it up to the lens of the spotting scope, and it works wonderfully. In fact, they make holders that hold the phone to the lens on the spotting scope. This was done handheld, and that's just remarkable. So you get this kind of feature in there with that. And this was done with an iPhone 10. So I was using an iPhone 12 at this point, but the guide had an iPhone 10. So instead of putting my camera on there, he did this and he airdropped it to us. But for an iPhone 10 to get this kind of clarity is pretty amazing. So unfortunately, I didn't take this shot, but I'm claiming it as mine. This was a shot with one of my phones. This was Ken took a shot of me. I don't do enough of these because I don't like pictures of myself, but it really is good to kind of just set the stage. This is another photo through a spotting scope. This is zoomed in. Those guys are about a quarter mile away from us. This fox through the spotting scope again, really amazing and great coloring. This is one where we could boost the colors, do a different balance with. Let's hit edit. And if I adjust this guy, I'm going to give it a little more color saturation so he stands out there. Again, this is an iPhone shot through a spotting scope. Oh, do I have it? So, and this is just this is all about timing and time of year and knowing, researching it. So there's a phenomenon that happens in Yosemite called the natural firefall. It happens for 10 days from February 15th to February 25th. The sky has to be, you have to have an unobstructed view of the sunset, because this is the setting sun after it's below the horizon, creating just above the horizon, creating what's called alpaglow. And this is reflecting off water. And you can only capture this. This was February 24th. This was the day after we captured all those other snow scenes you just saw of Yosemite Falls and stuff. So this is on the same trip, and this thing's just amazing. This was done 2 days before that, and you see the reflection. It's basically, if you want to do this, I encourage you to. And if the waterfall doesn't work, because about half the time you're not going to get it to work for you for one reason or another. These clouds could have been heavier and it wouldn't have gone. But the worst thing that happens is you just spend a day or two in Yosemite. So it's not like that's a bad thing. This is just a random sunset from out in Rancho Cordova looking towards Sacramento. So this was an iPhone shot again, and it's a little oversaturated. Another thing about texture, this is actually, I came home one night with my Tesla before this one, and it had rained, and I pulled into the garage and I looked at my car and I go, oh my gosh, this is just the rain that had fallen on my car. And I thought it was a great texture to have. And, you can do textures for brochures, different things. So look around for this kind of stuff. It's great. This is the picture that's behind me. This is a phone. This is a picture from my backyard, and I'm certain it was, yeah, iPhone 12 Pro Max. So I'm pretty lucky. I look out at this and I can see this whenever I want. This one is enhanced a bit, primarily with the haze removal to give the clouds a bit more of this boost. But this is looking west towards the Coast Range. Thunder Valley is right under here. And then just over here to the left, well, kind of where that tree is, would be the skyline of Sacramento. And I can barely see to Mount Diablo. So I'm pretty lucky. When I bought my house, or when I looked at this house, I brought out the TPE, the photographer's ephemeris, and I looked at June 21st and December 21st to see where the sun location was. And as soon as I realized that I would be able to have an unobstructed view of sunsets both throughout the entire year, there was no hope. I couldn't negotiate on my house. So then I was paying what they asked. And that was more important than anything else in my house. And so it's great because I see the sunset not on somebody else's roof. This is another one. This is in 2021. That's the same waterfall. It was a windy day. And so it kind of spread out a little bit. Perspective. And this is why the iPhone's so good. I keep mine hanging. I have it attached to a tether, and the tether makes it so I don't worry about dropping my phone if I'm, over a bridge or something like that. But in this case, I was able to pull it out of my pocket, and I was able to take this perspective of the setting sun on the Sahara Desert. And thank goodness, and believe me, I could only take my one hand off of the saddle for a short amount of time to do the quick little iPhone shot that if I just set up with a regular camera, there's no way. And because it's amazing. You move around a lot up there, and I was holding on for dear life. But just think about these things. And, when we started on this thing, I'm going, there's always this long leg picture you see. And so I waited until we were just the right angle, pulled my phone out and did it. So be thinking about that stuff. And I'm really lucky because there were some clouds in the background. This is right near sunset in the Sahara. And I just looked over at the sand dunes. And again, these are all iPhone shots. And I should mention, when you're shooting shots with an iPhone, everybody wants to pinch in and zoom with their fingers. You don't do that. Your phone will either say 1/2, 1x, or 2x, or 2.5, or 3x. Tap those numbers. Do not zoom with your fingers. And if you can't get zoomed in enough, don't zoom in with your fingers, because that is not optical zoom. That is called digital zoom. If you tap those numbers, that's optical zoom, and that means you're using the lens. So you're getting picture perfect pictures. After the fact, you can go in and crop it in the programs, and that is the same way as zooming it. So the thing is don't zoom it on the phone, because you're going to degrade the photo. Take the best photo you can. Oh, there, Al just posted that, as he always does. Al, I can't say enough how great this is that Al does this. And like I said when we started, we're going to get it attached to wherever the video goes. He will have all the links about everything I discussed and more on there. But anyway, this was a great setting sun. I looked at the way the light was. I kept coming back to this shot and a couple others, making sure I would do it. And I didn't notice it until I did it. This is not a photograph anomaly here. This is, in fact, little wind ripples in the sand. You can see right here. It almost looks like it's a defect, but it's not. It's the little wind ridges that are in the sand. I don't know if you're able to make that out. I'll try to zoom in a little. You can see here these ridges. They almost look like, and then there's just loose sand at the very top, and then there's more ridges down the other side. So again, pretty damn good clarity for an iPhone picture. This is on the other side of the Sahara Desert. It's a little town called Warzite, and it's this was just, now this is weird because that little plateau is in the way, so I couldn't get sunset. And then what I did is
That's a great shot.
thank you. I was, so as soon as I check into this hotel, I start looking around, and I always look to see where's the highest point I can get to. So I know when sunrise is, I know when sunset is. And so I ask the people, I say, okay, you've got a 4th floor. Is there access up there? Things like that. And, you know, you say, I'm a photographer. I want to be able to take sunrise. Do you have any spots like this? And so in this one, I didn't really have to ask them. I just started going around. And ironically, this was right around the corner for where our room was. But I always looked for the high spot. And in this case, I knew sunset was coming up. I knew which angle it was going to be. And my God, it was a bonus. And I did some different effects here where I'm looking through this little keyway and things, but this was just on fire. And I have a reminder on my phone. I have an app called Sol, S-O-L. S-O-L. I set it to remind me 35 minutes before sunset. And it will also, when I'm traveling, give me a reminder, whatever I set, how long before sunrise I want it to alert me. And so you can set it to do that. And then it uses your GPS location, and it knows where sunrise and sunset is wherever you are. Obviously, if it's trying to tell you when sunrise and sunset is back home, that doesn't work. So I do that, and then it reminds me, it just pops up. It doesn't make a noise, but I can say, oh man, I got to check out to see what sunset looks like. So this was cool, and it was really neat. It was pretty breezy out, and there were some other great shots from up here. Looking down there, just to the right from up here, some other people that are on the trip with us are going around, and there's some ruins, some really old ruins right there on the grounds, and they're looking at them, and I'm up there doing this photo, and so I got to see the ruins from up above. Now, this same location up on the third floor of this hotel, I had said, well, see, it was really cloudy like this, and it even got cloudier before sunset. But I said, you know what? I'm going to go out and set my alarm and see if middle of the night, if I can see the galaxies and see stars. So this here, you can see some clouds in the lower left corner, but this is the Milky Way galaxy taken with my iPhone. And I'll explain how to do that. And I will share my iPhone again. And I'm going to have to get it into a dark area. So let's share the iPhone. So the iPhone 12 and newer has the ability to do this special night mode. So, oh wait, I did the wrong screen. There we go. So if I go to camera mode, and I'm getting it back into a dark area here. Oh, come on. Okay, so if you look at the bottom here, well, I'm going to show you how to expose it. So right at the top, so you see where it says 2 seconds? Okay, so where it says 2 seconds up there means if I take this shot, this is a super dark shot. I mean, I've got it behind my monitor underneath a shelf on my desk. So it means if I take this photo, it's going to be 2 seconds. And seriously, I mean, actually, let's turn this off. If I go to video, you can't even really see how dark it is. Well, there's pitch black, okay? Yeah, see, it adjusted. So you can see that's pitch black back there. So now if I go to photo, you'll notice up in the upper left there, it now says 3 seconds. So if I take this photo, if I press the button, I have to hold it still. And it takes a 3 second exposure. And what it does is it senses that I was moving it around. So that light looks pretty good. That's a 3-second exposure for something that is utterly pitch black. Now, you don't want to use your flash. So let me go back. And now what happens is now it says, if it's a little brighter, it says, oh, it's only a 2-second exposure. Well, that exposure can go up to 10 seconds. But, and I'm going to try to see if this will work if I set it without movement. Let's see here. I am not touching the phone. It is sitting on my desk there, and you'll see it extended to 5 seconds. Normally 3 seconds is the max. But if this were on a tripod, let me try even a little darker spot here. Oh, it's not even going to do it there. Hang on. So it's hard to do it without my tripod. But anyway, what happens is it will take a photo, and I'm going to switch back to it. And it did a 30-second exposure of the galaxy. And frankly, it was too much light because when you're doing stars, you don't want your exposure to be over 18 seconds or the stars start to blur. So I have to find a way to make it so it won't go 30 seconds. But the way I was able to do this photo is I could just set the phone on the table looking up and use my watch to take photos. You use the camera app on your watch and it will click the photo. So that way I am not moving the phone. When the phone realizes that you're not hand holding it and it's on a tripod and not moving, it will go up to 30 seconds on this exposure because it knows that you're stable and it knows that it doesn't have to do a lot of calculations, because otherwise it's correcting for your movement. So
Are you saying you
Here's another
can't disable
solution.
that?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you saying you can't disable that? So if I
Oh,
want
you
it
can.
darker?
It's on auto and I turn it to off. But the
Okay.
thing was, I cannot set it to 18 seconds is what the
Okay.
problem was.
Okay.
Bob, what is that you have there?
That is a Bluetooth remote. And it's perfect for the situation that you were just in.
Well, you don't need a Bluetooth remote because you have the Apple Watch.
Well, but not everybody has a watch. And
Okay.
this is actually more convenient because all you do is turn the power switch on and it connects in a second and you press the button.
Yeah, and that's great because the beauty of that is if you put the phone on like a Gorilla Pod or even you lean it against a rock or something, if you want to take a picture of yourself or your group, or if you want it to be so it won't move because, that's perfect. And that's a Bluetooth remote. You can pretty much find those anywhere. That looks like a really good one. But again, if you have the Apple Watch, you can go into the camera app on the watch and have it take the picture. So anyway, that's this Milky Way. I thought that was pretty amazing. And this was just, it's the first time I did it. So now that I know more about it, I can go out and adjust it. And I encourage you to do it. If it's a really clear night, go out, get the phone, and then have it just set it on a table pointing up and use your watch. Or I have a little mini tripod that I have, and I'll pull that up in a bit and get that link so that I can post that, because the mini tripod is just the best thing for it. You got to be ready for interesting things. These are the tree climbing goats in Morocco. These goats actually climb this tree. Looks like the rancher was nice enough to put a little bit of a ramp up there, but they do climb the trees here. But what I want to point out here is this years ago, for the longest time, everybody, when I did an iPhoto class back in iPhoto, it was, well, how do you put words on photos? And I said, well, you got to take it into Pages, do this, do that. rub your tummy, pat your head, and do all kinds of stuff. Well, finally, we have a thing called markup. And this is not an additional program. It comes and it has come in your iPhone and your Mac version of Photos for, gosh, probably getting close to a decade. But I'm going to show you how it works. So I go to this photo and I hit edit in the upper right corner. And now I go to the ellipsis, the 3 dots, and there's one here called markup. And believe me, it's there. You've got it. And that you don't have to have any of these other programs. It's markup. Now, you're not going to build a newsletter with this markup because it's got very simple text capabilities. Also, don't go crazy with fonts and all that because there's only so many fonts it supports. So along this toolbar, you'll see there's a squiggly line. So I could draw a squiggly line. And then I can say, well, make it, see, look at here. I say that squiggly line. Oh, you mean you meant to do that? Or let's go ahead and let's draw a squiggly, well, let's get rid of that. So I click it. And let's do now my attempt at a circle. So now I go like this, look at that. It's either what I drew or it turns it into a circle. But I can do other things. I can do a shape. Like here, I can say, I'll take this right here and I can say, bah. Okay, there's the making it. Or I can just go over to text and I can say, wow. And these are all movable. Click off of it. I can put that up there. Obviously, it shows up a little bit better in the blue sky. I can go here. I can obviously change the color. I can change the text however I want. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you what these look like, which is really weird, but I think it's the way it is in these. So let's do there's a wow like that. We'll bring that down a little bit. I can change the color right here. We got a pretty simplistic color wheel. A little bit darker doesn't work. There we go. So you can do all of this, and this then becomes part of the photo. If you save this, whatever you do, if I don't like this stuff over here, I can just click it and delete it. Click it and delete it. Anyway, constantly, this is the guy I'm gonna have talking now. So anyway, you can hit save changes and boom, there it is. Well, when I go back, I can always revert to original, and that got rid of everything. So I'm going to say edit, undo, revert. Okay. So that's markup. Again, how we got there is we say edit on the photo, and then we go to the ellipsis, and then we go to markup. And that brings up this tool menu here. Okay. Got a lot of different features you can play with, but the great thing is it is part of the photo. You can put someone's name on the photo. You can do different things like that. All right, next photo in line here. This is the Iwani Hotel. It's a great setting. Sometimes you just do it if it's a special food. I do certain marketplaces. If I'm at a special place, this was just nice. This is the Sunday brunch at the Iwani. So I thought it was just cool to do. I love central markets. This is just this is so cool. You've got different nuts, different candies, different things like that. And this one is original. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boost this guy a little bit. And we're going to work on this. So I can do this adjustment and that adjustment. God, I didn't even do it that good, but I'm going to undo that because what I'm going to show you here is I'm going to go down to color selector and I'm going to highlight. Let's bring red out. So I'm going to say saturate the heck out of red. And look at what it did to the red items. See the difference? There's kind of the natural color. Brightened up the reds. Let's undo that. Let's see what it does to the yellows. Brightens up the yellows. Like you look at those little signs, brings up the yellows. You can do spot coloring like that. There's actually an app out there too, and I don't know what it is. Someone may know it, where you could say, just show me the red and everything else goes black and white. And I forget, it's a neat effect, and I forget who does that, but it's pretty cool. If anybody knows what that one is. So here's another one. This is my huge bucket list item, is to go to Petra. I investigated it ahead of time, 3 nights a week. They do a nighttime thing at Petra. They light 1,000 candles and put it along the walkway. And this is iPhone with its wonderful lighting. In fact, the iPhone was almost too good because it almost lets too much light in. But here was the night. This was November 18th. And this was last November. And then the next, oh, that's night. And then the next day. And the difference is, you know, the seek now versus this seek. And I just always like to do photos that are offsetting. This is the seek at night. And that sky, this was pitch black up there. And the iPhone actually brought in too much light in this photo. It can be adjusted out. It's not a problem. But look for certain circumstances like that. I did a lot of research, and I was not going to go to Petra if I couldn't also do the night one. And actually, I'll bring up that in a minute. Again, back to the daytime version of it. This is a wonderful place. If you guys are going around Lake Tahoe, Emerald Bay, everybody knows where Emerald Bay is. Well, Emerald Bay is, there's the Vikings home down there on the little island. Well, where you pull over right in the middle of the big loop there, it's called Eagle Falls. This is less than 20 yards from the highway. That's called Eagle Falls. And it's just fantastic. There's stairs down to it and stuff. It's a little bit difficult to maneuver there in the snow. Make sure you have a walking stick. And I always say have walking sticks with you, because walking sticks will also stabilize your camera for you, your phone or your other one. Again, another shot from my backyard. I try to get other stuff in from it. I don't really have a lot of things to show with that. This was May 2nd when I was in Yosemite again a month ago. And I have versions of this, but this was the positioning so I could get 2 of the 3 falls of Yosemite Falls. This is one where let's go ahead and see what happens. I'm going to revert to original. So there's the original. And if I just hit the magic wand, it did a pretty good job, but I'll turn it off. And I'm going to show you, this is another good example. I find on long distance photos, haze removal does a great job. Look at the clouds.
Wow. That's great.
And then also look at the rocks. If you look at how it brings out to the right of the falls, those little striations in the rocks. And then even over here, it clears up the tree in the middle. Look at the lighter green. Now, I think they do a thing here because this is a little masked. It makes it look blurry. It's blurrier than the photo was, but I just like what it does for it. So we'll save that guy. And by the way, programs like Luminar. So let's say this was a total blue sky day and this was a boring blue sky. Well, that program Luminar will allow you to put in any sky you want. It can be one you've taken a photo of before or ones that they have. I frankly will never do that to my photos. I think it's lying and cheating, and it's not what I saw. Now I will do some enhancements of the colors that were there, and it's usually to make it a little bit better or to conquer. A lot of it is, you know, especially when we had the fires going on, getting through the smoke on that and things. So that was tough. But anyway, I'll do. Oh, this is another good one. We could get rid of these cars over here. So let's go over here. You know, of course it's natural, right? We're going to go ahead and I'm going to use we're going to get rid of, actually I should zoom in so you guys can see it better. All right, let's get rid of this car. This van looks kind of like an Amazon van. Oh, I got a little bit. Oh, that's an outhouse, maybe. Get rid of this car. There's some people here. We'll get rid of them. Sorry, people. There's a car over here on the right. Sweet. Now there's no cars. Yosemite's deserted. Anyway, that's using the retouch. I would have done that in Staffio, but it's my new best friend. All right. So I'm going to edit, revert to original. Done. Okay. This is going to be a good one to check too. Now, this is me coming back from, I did a long road trip through, I went skiing in Utah. I went down to Arizona and I skied in New Mexico, Colorado, and then came back. And this is going across the Nevada or the Utah desert going towards Nevada. And it's just these great clouds were going on. So I'm going to go in here and I really like the shot, so one thing I could crop this, and let's show you the advantage of cropping because, well, first of all, in cropping, let's say I wasn't really level with this, it will usually automatically crop to the level it senses the horizon, and it actually uses the sensor on the camera. But I could level it if it wasn't level by just grabbing this in crop mode. Now, when I crop a photo, you can do freeform, which means I could crop this photo, keeping it the same width, but just giving it higher like this, right? So, but what I like to do is if it's whatever size it was, you can say, make it square, make it 16 by 9, make it 4 by 5, or freeform or original proportions. So now if I crop it, the proportions will stay original to the way it was taken. So you'll notice that if I'm trying to just move it up, it brings it in with it. Even if I just grab it here, I'm trying to make it smaller, but it brings in the sides at the same time because I told it to be freeform. Okay. And a lot of times it can make a huge difference on photos. And this is where, so this is an iPhone photo. So rather than zoom in, if I wanted to see something here, I would go in and just crop it like that. And that's going to be better than trying to zoom in by using your fingers on the camera. And that's in fact how you do it. So, and this is your landscape versus portrait mode for your cropping. And I'm going to show you now how I'm going to get rid of these things. Let's get out of crop mode, adjust. And I'm going to use our newly found retouch. Let's zoom in. You know, the road I've got to keep, but I can get rid of these 3 markers. Now, while I said I will never put a photo in here, I guess you could say this is cheating, but to me, it's not. It's just, it's an anomaly. And I believe in this one, there was also, oops, didn't want to do that. There was, let's turn it off. Oh yeah, here's another one. And then let's see what we can do with this down here. So I'll get rid of this guy. Now let's try this. And I might want to make it bigger. Oh, look at that. I got rid of the grate. Here's a little piece of trash, I think. Maybe it's a rock. I don't know. There's a little white anomaly. Boom. Oh, that put I'm going to hit Command Z. Oh, no, that spot was in the. Oh, you know what? There's a little derivation there because of the road. And you know what? We got a building there. We get rid of it. Get rid of that. And for some reason, this little dark spot, it's just a shadow, but it's natural. So there you go. Cleaned it up. There you go. And in this one, you could crop this up a little bit just to get rid of the road, but I really like the breadth of this. This is another one that, this is a shot. This is at what's called Whitney Portal. This is out of Lone Pine going up towards Mount Whitney. We're there for sunrise. This is Ken Henry. That's my old Tesla that I missed so much. Anyway, he's shooting sunrise looking up towards Mount Whitney. And believe it or not, the actual picture of it was used in High Sierra, the High Sierra for the Mac. It was Sierra for the Mac. It was this Lone Pine Peak is what they did. But this is a pretty tough situation. It's really dark. I mean, it's much darker than it looks here. But I want to bring Ken out in this and make it a little bit more visible. So I'll go to shadows and I can adjust that. And you'll notice, see how white, especially the scrub brush, it lightens it up. His is pretty challenging there. In fact, I could probably remove him, but that wasn't the point. So I've done this, but you'll notice all this haze in the distance. So again, this is another one for haze removal. And let's watch what it does to this guy. So you see on here, you see how dull everything looks in the background, and that just cleans it up. And I know in Luminar, there's something like this too. I just default to this one. It's what I know. It doesn't mean it's the best. I want to talk about portrait photography on your iPhone. And portrait does not mean that it's, you have landscape in portrait mode. Portrait photography is where you put it in portrait mode, which is right next to photos. And your object, the object in the foreground, is around 6 feet from you. And it will light up and turn yellow. And it'll say portrait. Now, you'll notice that this effect is called bokeh. So bokeh is where the background is blurred, but the foreground is very clear. Now, this can be done with a regular camera. You make the f-stop, you make it a narrower light. You close down the f-stop so that it doesn't have a long field of view. Because inevitably with a phone, everything is in focus. And I'll give you an example here. So in a typical photo, so I'm going to hit edit. Here it is. So you'll notice everything there is in focus. That's typically what an iPhone does. It makes everything in focus is what it thinks it wants, but it makes this just a snapshot. To make this into a photo, I will decrease my depth of field and watch what happens in the background. The tents, which aren't really part of this, go away and get blurred. And now we have just this seat and the fire that are in focus. Now, you can do that with a regular camera, but you can't do it after the fact. The iPhone captures so much information that it's able to do this adjustment after the fact, if in fact you did do this in portrait mode. So again, portrait, edit, and you can do it on the phone, and you simply adjust this this f-stop, and you can see the difference. There's one extreme, and there's the other extreme. And I'll show you these other two photos to show you a couple of things. These are different settings you can adjust. They're like, see there, it's all about the light. This is called stage light. You'll notice it's saying just brighten this area. So along with that bokeh, this stage light is pretty neat because it enhances the light here and decreases the light back there. Black and white, yeah, it doesn't do anything for me on that. And there's a key, black and white, which is, this one's really pretty bizarre, but I don't like that one. I do like stage light, but I really like doing the f-stop. Let's go back to this one. This one is done in portrait. So I'm going to go here and click my depth of field. So there, it's not everything, because this was so close to me, everything is not in focus, but you notice it's in better focus. So I take it all the way to this way, and then I'll work it back a little, because right in here, I want this to be in focus because it's the same distance. So right now that little thing is in focus, the rest of the bowl, but everything else is out of focus. And to be honest, I'd go over here and crop this out. This wouldn't work. I'll try it, but this is an example of where retouch wouldn't work very well. Oh, hang on. I got to, yeah, let me make this a little bit bigger. Because this has this weird pattern, let's try this and snap peel. Got to go bigger. Not too bad, but you can see it's not a very good pattern. Let's try our old friend snap peel and see how it does. Too big. Not big enough. Ah, look how good a job Snap Peel did with that. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm impressed with that. So we're back to having Snap Peel being the winner. So a little bit of color differentiation. I don't know why it's not letting me get down that low because because I have my screen so zoomed in. Last one I'm going to show you on that is with the bokeh effect is this one. This was a sand painting we did in Morocco. And I'm going to adjust the depth of field. So see there how most of the bowls are in focus. There, very little is in focus. But if I go find in between somewhere, my bowl is in focus and other things are out. So you can play with it. Any questions on that? Again, that just makes that such a difference in that one. So the other thing you have on your phone is, normally I say don't take photos on your phone with live photo. I don't like it. Live photo is where it's constantly doing essentially a recording. In fact, we'll show you what this was. So here's the live photo. So if I tap it and I can, the live photo was this waterfall, okay? So it takes, essentially it's 2.75 seconds. So it takes the picture before, right in the middle is where you take the picture. It records before and it records after. Now, unlike a video, these are full resolution photos. But with live photo, what I want to show you here, and this is not a great photo, but when I took this, I said, man, this is what I'm going to use for it. And in fact, this one was in Morocco. And I go, and in fact, it was really weird because on this trip, one of the guides showed me how to do this with live photo. And I'm like the iPhone guy, right? I didn't even know this. So if you use live photo and you do a thing called long exposure. So watch what happens to the waterfall. It's moving water. And you know that most people do a long exposure to make it very smooth. So the fact that this was a long exposure photo, I can hit this and look at how it softens it. I'm not a huge fan of this look, but a lot of people look for this. But that is a long exposure, and so it softens it. And it looks better than that. Now, the next photo, I did this on purpose. This is from Jordan, Aqaba, Jordan, looking over, that's the Red Sea there. And this was the photo. This was a sunset over Israel. And I knew that this wasn't perfectly calm, so I'm getting a reflection. But I go, oh, I can use live photo. So when I took the live photo, I come back now and I do long exposure, and watch what happens to this dramatic effect on this. It softened the water. It gives it this surreal effect. And it, to me, it turned a snapshot into a photograph. Don't forget to use video. We're up on the top, and these are the people that were our camel handlers, which, by the way, they brought the camels to us walking 2 hours over the Sahara Desert. And when they were done, they walked their camels back. They don't even ride them back to the Sahara. So pretty amazing. But just, you know, you've got a great built-in video. And this was just, those were the blankets off of the camels and beautiful colorings and everything else. So I don't do a lot of videos, but what I want to point out here is when you do a video, your video is going to be played back on a screen that's wide like this. So you should, unless you're using TikTok, you should always do a video in landscape mode. And I want you to remember this. Think of it like Ken. I am wider than I am tall. Okay. So you want to make sure you take the video wider than it is tall. Carolyn, you've got a question. Go ahead.
Yes, a couple of apps back you were using. It sounded like you were saying Snap Field.
Snap Heal, like heal a wound.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you.
show you right here. You can see where it says Snap Heal, which actually won't work on a video, but it's Snap Heal, one word. It's no longer on the App Store. I think you can still download it, or it may be part of another program. But again, as you saw, I really like the retouch one. Is my new friend.
Okay, thank you.
So this is another just short video shot through a spotting lens. This was a bison that pretty much died of old age, and then they come in and they're on the carrion. So it's a video, a little gruesome. I'll tell you, this is skiing. This is this last winter at Park City, and the iPhone does such a good job. Snow is not easy to photograph in, and it's just, you know, it's pretty amazing. Got just how easy it is to take photos, and I put it back in my pouch. Off we go. Oh, someone took this video. See, the problem is they're not in, I do a panorama, and that's me there. So that one wasn't one of mine. I shouldn't have had it in this. Now, this was a month ago. No, this wasn't. This was when we went a year and a half ago to Yosemite. Three and a half. Anyway, it's when we went, 2019, I believe. But all these photographers are out there. Well, what a great time to do a panorama. Now, when you do a panorama with your phone, it's wonderful. But this is the same way. Now, in this case, we normally take pictures in landscape mode, but when you're doing a panorama, it's important to remember that you have your phone upright in portrait mode, because the photo is already going to be plenty wide enough. So you don't want to cut down the height at all. So I encourage that with panoramas. Here was that spot we took from before. We did the Yosemite Falls over here on the right. This is the swinging bridge we're standing on. And then it's just used to be a swinging bridge. It isn't any longer. And then those were the shots we took the other way. This is another one of those situations. They had a rooftop bar. So I found this is in Vietnam, I believe. This is in Ecuador, excuse me. Yeah, this is in Guayaquil. And it was a neat sunset and a rooftop area. So I checked it. And this, what I did, the thing here is I used the building and I didn't do a full panorama. So you can see it's a little bit higher that way. This was only way I could capture this photo was with a panorama. This is an ancient Inca house from the 1440s. And we got to have lunch inside this house. That was just amazing. And panorama was the only way to catch it. And this, by the way, is a very dark room. There's a little bit of lighting around it, and that's it. Machu Picchu, to me, it just called for panorama on this. This is daytime. This is in Cusco, and then nighttime, same location. I was lucky enough to do almost exactly the same location, day and night. So this was that morning shot I showed you earlier where we got up. It's Bow Lake, and a panorama worked pretty well here.
Outstanding.
And huh?
Outstanding.
Yeah, and here's what I want to point out on this. So this is a tough lighting situation. It's low light. It's just before sunrise. And actually, you can see a building over on the left. There's a red roof over there. That was one of the first explorers. The guy, that was his house. And he built this cabin, and it's now kind of a B&B, but it's from the 1700s. Anyway, if it's a panorama is really tough in light situations, and you'll notice how all these panoramas, it's very easy. Well, this panorama I took very long ago in Monument Valley in 2011. So this was the iPhone 4. And what I want to point out here, other than the fact that it's pretty cool, but if you'll notice how bad the lighting is, because the software hadn't gotten there yet. So I started on the left and went around, and you can see the transitions of colors here. Now, yeah, I could fix that, but well, it'd be tough to fix it. But in fact, it really points out how far the iPhone has come. A little tip when you're doing panoramas. You normally go from one way to the other. You can press the arrow and decide to go back the other way. But when you're at the end of your swoop, and again, you don't have to go all the way. Like at this point, I just stopped where the building was. I started and stopped where the building was. There's no point getting more of the building, which, by the way, if you ever go to Monument Valley, this is called the View Motel. It's owned by the Native Americans, and every room has this view, and it's killer. But when you do the panorama, you don't have to look and get your hand weird to get the button to turn off. If you go to the end of the panorama where you want to go and you start moving back the other way, it will turn off that panorama for that one. So again, you do your panorama, and then you just, at the end, you start moving back the other way, and it will know that and go the other way. There's an app out there. So the panorama will only go 280 degrees on the iPhone, and that depends on how much zoom you have in. But on the biggest zoom out, on the least zoom, it will do 270 degrees. There's an app out there called 360 Panorama that we can do a full 360. This was in Medellin, or in Guatapé again, and Tiananmen Square, the Forbidden City. This was a great way to capture the terracotta warriors. So this is basically, I'm at one end of the building. You can see the walkways on the end, and you can see this is just like a Quonset hut. So this is inside in Macau. This is the MGM, and that's an aquarium in the middle there. But this is all indoor. It's just wild. This is not mine. This is Mark Finan, the Channel 3 weather guy, who is wonderful. He does a Facebook weather on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but he's also an excellent photographer. So I stole this from him. His name is on the lower left. But this is just another perfect way to do a panorama. And I guarantee you this wasn't an iPhone photo, because he's a very accomplished photographer. So you can check out his stuff. This was an outdoor concert we had down here. Just a great way to get crowds. Mesa Arch. This is in Canyonlands National Park. And speaking of setting up, you can see all the photographers to the left and all the photographers to the right. But this led itself to a panorama. I have a whole bunch of other shots I took from there. This, another panorama in Yellowstone. Waves in Bali, I believe this was. This was a car show out where I live. This was a pretty cool way to do a panorama. This was inside, that's our Apple user group here in Sun City. I did have one of ours in there, but I didn't have it. Skiing to get the mountains. This was when we were photographing the sunset, or the waterfall, inside the Iwani Hotel. Again, all great uses of panorama. This was a rotary crab feed, and great way to capture the whole thing. Oh, this is North Lake. This is on High Sierra. On the right, that's the picture that it normally is, where the guy standing on the left is where you normally take that photo from. The Wadi Rum Desert. Now I want to show you two different things here. So that's the Matterhorn. I was there last January. And this is two different panoramas. One that's not the full panorama, and you get the Matterhorn pretty well. but from virtually the same location. This is the other one. So your positioning and your zoom and everything is critical on that. Now, vertical panoramas. So now you do hold the phone in landscape mode and you capture going up this way. So it really gives you an effect for this, because this is called the seek. This is a very narrow. There's no point in doing this in landscape mode or even portrait mode, but when you do it in panorama, again, going from bottom to top, if the phone and hold the phone in landscape mode, and it will work just fine. Tall trees. I did that when I did the redwoods. I did it with tall trees like that. The story behind this is when I first went to Yosemite 2015 or 14, and this is the original Firefall. I was out there, so I had my big lens on my Canon. Let me look at the date on this. February 21st, 2019. That doesn't sound right. This one was newer. Anyway, so I'm there, and it was an overcast day. It looked like it was gonna it looked like it wasn't gonna work. And all of a sudden, actually, that's my mistake. It was, anyway, I was here and I'm zoomed in on the fall with my big Canon. And I've already, that photo is earlier in the set here. But these clouds were making it so we weren't going to see anything. Well, the whole event only lasts about 10 minutes at sunrise. 5 minutes into it, we have nothing going on. Well, all of a sudden, the clouds started to part, and the bottom part of this started to get amber, and then it went back to dark, and then it started filling in the whole thing. And I'm all zoomed in, and I wasn't getting all these clouds in the background. And the reason was I couldn't zoom out. I couldn't get it. So I was getting the waterfall like I'm supposed to. But this here, thank goodness, I had my iPhone mounted on my tripod right next to me on there, and iPhone 7 Plus, 2017. Yeah, so that was the year that this was. So I had my iPhone there, and I would have never captured all this other stuff because I couldn't see it. To me, this is what was really happening there. So be prepared. I have a special bar I put on my tripod, so my phone is always mounted right next to my camera. This was taken this just recently when Al and I were there. Or no, Ken and Al and I were there. We got this. This is blowing snow. So it changes all the time. All right, I think that is, yep, that's my last photo. Oh, I gotta hit done. There we go. Anyway, so let's go out of that and let's ask any questions. We got about 5 minutes or so. I know it's a lot. Oh, I know what I was going to do, Al. I'm going to pull up that tripod for the phone. I did that in the other link. So let's see. I'll do two things, and I'll put the link in there and you can add it to your thing. Smile orders. I order too much from Amazon. Tripod. This is one. And oh, this is a small spotting scope I got. I'm okay with it. But I wanted to show you this. And then I want to go and look under Wanderer. The Black Rapid Wanderer. So I'll talk about these and I'll give Al these links. So this is an interesting one. My friend Ken Henry found this. This is a monopod that will work as a walking stick. So I always encourage people to have a walking stick, but you can make it into a monopod. But then it's got this add-on tripod at the bottom. So it's in separate pieces. And yeah, so this shows you. So it can be its own little tripod for your iPhone or for a camera. And then it sticks on the bottom of the walking stick, which isn't a great tripod. But the other thing is to have this as a walking stick is very nice because it's got a 1024 quarter 20 thread on it, so you can mount the phone to it. But here's what you put on this darn thing. This guy is amazing. This is not the cheapest iPhone tripod you'll find, but it's got some great features. It's all machined, so it's metal. It's not going to strip. It's not going to break. It is a ball head, so you have infinite adjustability on the angle of the phone. It fits any phone. And you have all this capability of portrait, landscape, angles. This is what I mounted it to get the Milky Way. It does come with this microphone holder for bloggers and stuff. And there you see it there. But one little thing that's interesting is when you look at this photo, at the base of it, this little foot sticks out. And that little foot is magnetically attached back under it. But when you need it, it's a standalone tripod. It also has the same dimensions on what for tripods is called an Arca mount. So I can actually put this right on the top of a tripod, or it has the 1/4-20 thread on it. So it's very, very versatile. And man, it is with me anywhere I travel now. The other thing is this Black Rapid, this you put in your iPhone case. It goes under the case like that and sticks out of the charging jack. You can't pull out, it's very durable. And then you hook that, you get either a lanyard or just this little, it's a little D-ring on the next one. It comes, oh, they're both the same. I did the wrong one here. But anyway, it comes with like carabiners. So yeah, let me look at, oh, here's the one. Yeah, so it comes with the loop that goes inside and then these carabiners. And what I do is I then clip this plastic piece, like on my ski jacket, there's a spot to clip it to, or if I wear a neck lanyard. And then this is also kind of like a wrist strap. And I have no problem taking my phone out anywhere. You know, you think when I'm skiing, I mean, on a chairlift, if you drop your phone in the snow, your phone's gone. So I will put those links in right now to you, Al. And then while I'm posting these links to Al, please go ahead and ask any questions. Actually, I'll do it to everyone, but Al, you can include it in your thing. Because I got to tell you, Al's messages are just the best, or his links. So everybody just sleep or...
Ken? Hey,
yeah,
Ken,
go ahead.
this is Craig.
Hi.
I love Al's chats, but I'm a little bit rusty on Zoom. So I've been saving this. How do I get Al's chat?
Well, it's actually not a chat. It's a link with all this stuff he'll put in a PDF. Do you get the emails about the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Hang on here. I want to see if I...
Yeah, so
then when Bob sends the next email, there will be a link to the PDF that Al creates. But starting with today's class, is that 1, 2, 3? Yeah. Today's class, when you do the YouTube video, we will link put the links there. They'll be there also.
okay, so I can pull it up and what I'll do is I usually bookmark these over to a folder. So
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, and again, thanks to Al to do it because it's so priceless and all this stuff. And, you know, I mean, it's not even just the links I give him. He has all this other stuff along the way that is in addition to that. Everything from how to do Zoom and all that. And again, Al, it's so valuable.
Yeah, Al's been busy. Hats off to Al. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Hey, Randy's there. How you doing? All right. Well, okay. That was actually, it worked out. I got the thing done in time and we got pretty deep into the whole electric thing. And oh, I'm sorry, Harmon has his hand up. Go ahead, Harmon.
Well, it's just a comment. There's a famous 19th century photographer named Gustave Le Gray, who was famous for taking seascape photographs, and he would separately photograph skies and then put the sky that he liked above the seascape. So, Ken, it's art.
I agree that that's art and that's pretty good. Now, to me, I just, it's the way I'm made, and that just, and that's why I give my friend Ken, he does that with skies and stuff, and I give him crap about it, but it's fine. It's what he wants to do. I have no problem with that. It's just for me as a purist, it just kind of, it's not what I want to do. I don't have a problem with it. I will give you one exception on photos that I like. There are some photographers, a lot of times, especially with you're doing this nice shot of Lake Tahoe and you've got a Milky Way galaxy. Well, you can't really do that in one shot. So there are shots where you really get the Milky Way, and there's shots where you get what you're doing down below in the dark Tahoe. It's from the same location at maybe even, but same location, same day, same setting, and they meld the two together. And frankly, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have the talent to do that, but I don't have a problem with that. To me, it's when you take, I like it better if you take a photo of a sky you had, like this sky I have above me, and use that. But it's just, and again, it's art, and I guess I'm just the photo purist more than the art purist. But I agree. I've seen some wonderful shots like that. And what's amazing is they've got it down so good with this artificial intelligence that you saw some of those reflection photos I had. The sky you put in, if I were to take this sky behind me and put it in some of those photos, it would reflect in the water accurately as if you were there. And in fact, you can change the angle of the sun, like if you wanted it to do different angles on it. It's really amazing. And I don't even spend enough time on my photos when I do it anyway to do a little bit of stuff, let alone. That's why I like, quick little things like that. But I don't disagree with that at all. I think, whatever floats your boat, if it gets people out there, gets them doing photos more. And actually the quote that I didn't repeat here yet is, what's the best camera in the world? The one you have with you. And that's the beauty of the iPhone, because you have it with you almost all the time. And it's okay to use an iPad if you have bad sight, but the iPhone of the same usually has a better camera than the iPhone. But the other thing is if you've got your big camera and stuff, use that, use whatever you got. And the only other thing I'm trying to do more and more is, because we can take photos and they're essentially free now, I find that I take more photos thinking that quantity is better than quality. And what I really need to get, I have to get myself back into the old thing, because when I shot film, I would say, in my mind, I'd say, this is going to cost me so much for the film. This is going to cost me so much to process it. I would be very careful about each photo. So I would actually compose the photo. Now I go in and I take 10 shots and they're all mediocre because I didn't sit and compose the photo. And the only reason I'm doing that now is because I have so many photos. I'm overwhelmed with how many. So this way I'm taking fewer photos, but I'm trying to take better photos on the ones I take. So Al, you're a photographer. Bob and Harmon, you are too, definitely. So I appreciate any input on that, because I'm just a guy who happens to, I'm an opportunist. I just happen to be in good spots often.
It's a great time to indulge yourself. There's such good hardware and software out there, and with the artificial intelligence and the ability to bring some of this computer technology to photography, even the beginner can look great. So
absolutely,
get out there and take pictures and capture the moment. You never know how important the moment is, sometimes still years later, even the most mundane things. So, storage is cheap, and, chronicle your life, chronicle all the details that that you think that are significant, even the ones sometimes that are seem insignificant. You know, I can't tell you how much I go through my old archive of photos 10, 15 years ago, and it was just a passing moment, but it kind of gives context to the past. And so it didn't seem like much at the moment I took the photograph, but it sure does on down the road.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Good call, Al. And the other thing is if a photo's out of focus, but you think it's a good photo, for the time being, keep it, because there's a thing now, like I have some photos that don't have really good, like that one of Bow Lake, which is done with the iPhone and it's long distance. There are some enhancements now, like Gigapixel AI from Topaz takes a photo that doesn't have good clarity, and it uses computer learning, artificial intelligence, and it makes it crisper and clearer of photos that you would have rejected. So if it's something that's got potential, before you die, maybe they'll have a way to dress it up. So you know, and that's amazing. And to me, that's not cheating either. That's essentially just, oh, I messed up and didn't focus real well and do that. It's not changing what I saw. And again, I don't want to get down on the whole add clouds to it and stuff, because I've seen some remarkable photos that have done that way, and it really does enhance the photo. And I know it gives the oh wow effect to me, but I take my photos for me. I don't take my photos for other people. And like Al said, I love to go through them and see old stuff.
Company out of Israel. It's called Photomine. It's PHOTOMYNE, and they have a feature where you can take old pictures of people and sharpen them, and it's fantastic. It's using AI, and it's so good that they have just signed a big contract with Ancestry, and you'll be able, if you're an Ancestry user, you'll be able to use their that feature on Ancestry.
Wow, I just pulled that up. You know, there's another one that somebody told me, because we didn't even get in, and now I just gave you that link. I found it. What was the one, photo books? Let me get it from this guy. So there's, oh no, Bill Smith did it. There's a new things to do your books, and it allowed he gave it access to his library, and it went through and found the photos that they thought would be best for him using artificial intelligence, and put a book together. And he went through and he was going, oh my God, these are exactly the photos I would have chosen.
Is that the past book that you recommended? Is that the past book that you recommended before?
Yes, that's it. Past book. Yeah, thank you. God, I'm glad you remembered the name. Yeah, past book. And I haven't used it yet, but it looked neat. You can do it yourself, or you can just have it do its thing. And I was blown away. Absolutely.
Another good one to look at is an app called Photo Sense. SENSE. And it does a fantastic one button job on fixing up old pictures.
And is it iOS or Mac?
Both.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, I see it. Photo, 2 words, SENCE. Got it. From Veprit.
Yeah, it's a Dutch guy. In fact, I've had a little bit of hand in helping him out over the years. You know, going back and forth. What do you think of this? And helping him tweak the app.
Wow. You know, that looks a little like, there's one called Photo Lemur that I've used that does a one-touch thing like that. And I liked Photo Lemur. The problem is it doesn't let you adjust anything. It just does it.
They were purchased by one of the other companies.
I think it
couple
was
years
Mac
ago.
Fun or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's bought that Skylum owns it now, I believe.
Yeah. Well, cool. Anybody else, any questions before we cut out? And you guys, it'll be the same link for the board meeting.
Um,
Cool. All
Great
right.
class, Ken. Another as usual.
Oh, thanks. And thanks for doing that. It was
Always
good.
good. Good
For
stuff.
you guys that are experts at this, thanks for hanging around. So Sue, good to see you. Charles, good luck. Did you get the contacts thing fixed, Charles? If not, I can help you with that. He may not still be there. Okay. All right, Al, have you got your links saved before I end the meeting?
Yeah, let me do the final save here. Okay, I'm good.
All righty, perfect.
See you in a while.
Thanks, everybody.